Hello? Hello?
Yes, you're audible.
Audible.
Good afternoon to all the participants of the final paper presentation session for the school and colleges.
Good afternoon, sir.
I hope all of you have the option to unmute and speak. I'm not able to hear any voices.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So let's begin today's session. I welcome you all to the final paper presentation session for Lake 2020 for schools and PUC category. So we have been having this evaluation session from the 20th, that is Sunday. We had 8th standard and the 6th and 7th category. And next we had on Monday 9th standard. Yesterday we had the 10th standard, and today we are having the 11th and 12th standard along with the PUC. And morning we had the poster presentations, and they have done a good job. Now we have the paper presentations. So just to give you a brief heads up about the Lake Conference, it was started in the year 1998, and it's a biennial conference, which means it happens once in 2 years. And every conference was conducted with a specific theme, focusing on the environmental or the ecological significance. So this year's theme, as you all know, is the ecosystem. It's structure, functions, goods, and services. And under this theme, there were 20 other sub themes which were assigned, and you all have prepared your projects or done research and allotted your projects to one of those themes. And you have undergone 2 rounds of evaluation before this, and this is the final round of evaluation for this year's Lake 2020. So I wish you all the best for today's presentation. Now, there are a few instructions I'd like to give before we start with the presentations. The first one is how you're going to be marked. That is similar to the previous round. You will have 30 marks. The first 10 marks will be based on your PPT, color combination, design, and the content allocation on the slides. Second set of 10 marks are for your oral presentation, how well you present the data to the audience. And the third thing is how well you have an understanding of the project and also the quality of the project. So to assess this, the judges will be asking you certain questions to understand how well you know your subject. So please think and answer when you are asked a question. The next thing is the time. So you all have 8 minutes, similar to the last round. You will hear the first bell at 6 minutes and the second bell at 8 minutes, at which point you will have to stop your presentation. So after you hear the first bell, I would recommend all of you to go towards your conclusion so that you don't exceed your time and complete within the given time. Any questions on these two regards?
No, sir.
Okay, great. So let's proceed. And now I have a small recording by Dr. T.V. Ramchandra sir, which unfortunately he's not here live to speak to you all. He was a little engaged today. So morning he was able to interact with the students, but right now he sent me a video which was recorded day before yesterday. So please excuse the class that he's going to mention. But it is for you, and he's going to briefly talk about this year's specific theme, that is ecosystem, structure, function, and goods and services. So I'm just going to bring up that video and play it for you. So after the video, then we will start with the presentations.
2020 is scheduled to all of you. I invite you to all of you. I invite you to Lake Symposium. Lake 2020 is scheduled during 28th to 30th December 2020 to choose the finalists for the symposium among the student category. We have scheduled the session today to evaluate the project. Today, the 9th standard kids will be presenting as well as they are doing the poster presentation, both paper presentation and oral presentation will happen. You are invited to attend both the session, morning and afternoon. More importantly, you need to take part during the 28th to 30th December, all the sessions. So we will announce the finalists and the winners during that day, those days. One of those days we will do it. So it could be one day among those 3 days. So now with that, let us try to understand the theme of the conference, why we are organizing the conference. The conference is to bring awareness among the youngsters and all the stakeholders about the importance of the ecosystem. If we do not understand the importance of the ecosystem and how to manage that, if we are not doing it, we'll pay the heavy price. As we see in the next slide, you will see that, you will see the rivers. Rivers is surrounded by forest. As long as the forests are there, rivers will retain the water. When the forests are removed, the water will disappear from the river and we'll face a crisis. As it happened in one of the river basin in the Western Ghats. When I was a student about 25 years back, I used to see a water, there were forests. Today, the same region doesn't have the water. It could be because of the vegetation. To understand this kind of linkages and understand the structure of the ecosystem, we have scheduled many talks during 28th to 30th. If you attend the session and understand this concept, probably you can become a good decision maker over a period of time, or even a good researcher or a good professional. As an engineer or doctor, if you understand how the nature functions, you will be highly successful in your career. Now, we all talk about sustainable development. If you do not want to face the situation of water scarcity, you need to manage the ecosystem. That management will lead to the development, which is sustainable development, which ensures the clean air, water, and environment to all all children and to all on the earth. And with the sustenance of natural resources, we'll have a clean air and abundant water and a clean environment. Okay. For this, we need to have a sensible citizen with a green lifestyle. This kind of the symposium will give insight how to manage the natural resources like water, the forest, etc. When we have the sustenance of natural resources, there will be a secured environment and everyone will survive and there will be a peace among the society. So now let us try to understand the structure of the ecosystem. This you would have studied in your the 6th or 7th standard. You see that material and energy transfer happens when the producer produces the food and transfer it to the next level. Then finally, whatever is left in the environment is being converted into elemental form by the bacteria and fungi. So that's why when you look at the nature, there is nothing called waste. Waste you will see where there is plenty of use of plastic, etc. That's why when you lead a life which is nature friendly, then probably you are not creating a waste in the system. Today we have waste in the system mainly because of too much usage of plastic in the form of pizza, etc. in the system. Now let us understand this further in the Western Ghats. So I will take you to the Western Ghats, which extends from Kerala to Gujarat. The length is about 1,600 kilometers. Now when you look at the Western Ghats, it is a home for numerous species. Let us try to understand the Western Ghats importance. See, when you look at the Earth, we have about 8 to 12 million species. Out of that, the science has estimated about 1.3 million species. Now that means you have a lot of job to do to identify what we have not explored as on date, understand their food and medicinal property so that you can give the food and medicine to the population that exists on the earth. Now, when you look at the Western Ghats, it extends from Kerala to Gujarat. And if you see that 8 degree to 14-degree latitude, you have the highest number of species. That means this is a region to be conserved. If you do not conserve, you will not have the diversity of life. When you do not have diversity of life, you will not have diverse food or the medicine in the system. Now, for that, let us try to lead a life which is nature friendly. How we can do it? One is if you can minimize the water use, the water wastage, then you are also helping in sustainable development or the sustainable management of the natural resources. When you have a healthy diet, you will also helping in water use efficiency. What is this healthy diet? See, suppose if you start eating more of pulses, there are benefits like the pulses will help in weight management. That means you will not be obese. It helps in optimal brain function. As a youngster, that tomorrow you will be the youth. Your brain need to function. For that, you need to have a healthy diet. Then it is a source of vitamins and minerals, reduce the risk of cancer. It controls the diabetes and blood pressure, and also boosts the metabolism in the body. So that means you will have a healthy body. When you have healthy body, you will think positively. So now let us try to look at the water footprint for growing these pulses. If you see that for growing 1 kg of pulses, you need 200 liters of water, while the cereals like rice and wheat, you need 3,000 to 5,000 liters of water. And also another important thing is if you grow pulses in a villages where human animal conflicts are there, the animals do not touch the pulse crop. That means you are also addressing the human animal conflict. That's how you can address the water problem as well as the human animal conflict by switching over to the healthy diet. Now, to give an example of healthy diet, this is an example of a healthy diet. If you have 5 varieties of vegetable, 5 varieties of fruit, and a bowl of pulses, you will be very healthy. There are instances people who have switched over to this kind of diet in the night. They, at the advanced age of about 70 years today, they do not have blood pressure and sugar, which was there about 5 years back when they were eating junk food. So, which means the balanced diet in the form of vegetable and diverse food, the diverse fruits and the pulses give the physiological, psychological, sociological, environmental, nutritional, emotional, and spiritual well-being. That is the health of the human. You need not go to the doctor. That's what we'll try to understand in today's presentation, much more insights on these aspects. Now, when you look at the health aspect, your friends have looked so healthy. It is not just merely an absence of disease, but also a state of well-being. A healthy person always thinks positively. Whereas unhealthy individual will always think negatively. He or she will always find a fault with everything. The family, the problem with the family, problem with the children, problem with the society, problem with the government, etc. So that means when you have healthy diet, you will also be the emotionally the strong, so that you can lead a happy life. Now, this is a glimpse of the healthy environment. So it also, when you work or when you spend time in this, your body, mind, and the spirit would be this in a harmonious state. That's where you get the health. Okay. So as a youngster, you can all do wonderful job. So this is a bunch of youngsters who have done their doctorates in IISc. So when they do a good job, the country is benefited. So I wish you all the success. I look forward for your active participation. The symposium that is being organized by us might act as a catalyst in your career. I would be very happy if you become successful taking the messages forward. So we look forward for sensible citizens for the country. That is the purpose of this event. I look forward for your active participation during this workshop, the pre-conference workshop, and also during 28th to 30th. I invite you all to the Lake Symposium during 28th to 30th, and the winners of this competition will be announced during one of the days during 28th to 30th. And also, some of the youngsters, we will, as a finalist, we will ask them to do the presentation on one of those days. Listen, I wish you all the success. Thank you very much for listening. And now we look forward to your presentation. The morning session will be the poster, and afternoon we'll have the oral presentation. Wish you the success, okay, in your career.
Thank you very much for the words of wisdom from Dr. T.V. Ramchandra, sir. So now let's proceed with today's session. And before that, I'd like to highlight the last part what sir has mentioned. That is, it is mandatory for all of you to attend all the sessions during the conference of 28th to 30th, 28, 29, and 30th of this month. That is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. So you to participate to the giving sessions based on their knowledge, their research, their findings. So I want all of you to listen to them, and we want you to interact with them also in the form of comments and questions. Okay, so we will be noting down who have been the most active, and your participation also will be checked. So only those who have participated on all 3 days and actively participated, they will be getting the certificate of participation for Lake 2020 this year. And last but not least, Sir has told that the best presentations for today will be selected, and some of them who are presenting well might be called to the conference at the venue on the last day only, that is on 30th. So I wish you all the best and present well. So let's just share my screen and I'll bring up the PPTs. Okay. So Sansita Varshini, are you there?
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Please
Yes,
ensure
sir.
that you are in a place where you have stable network connection.
Yes, sir.
So remember, at 6 minutes, you will hear the first bell, at which point we want you to start concluding your presentation. And at 8 minutes, you will hear the second bell, at which point you will have to stop the presentation. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, all the best to all the participants present well. So now let's begin the first presentation now. So Sansita, you can start when you're ready.
Hello, everyone, and a very pleasant good afternoon to one and all present here. Myself, Sansita, studying in class 11 from Presidency School. And today, I'm here to present my research work on the topic biomimicry. Next slide, sir. Biomimicry is innovation inspired by nature. Life has been on Earth for 3.8 billion years, and over the course of evolution, organisms have gained more effective ways to use their environment. And the idea is that we should be looking at these biological elders. They have figured out how to create a sustainable world than we inventing from scratch. Now let's see some common examples of biomimicry. Peacock feathers naturally has only one color, that is brown, but its structural arrangement makes it reflect multiple colors. The same is mimicked to create an e-reader which creates color without electricity. As fish swim in schools, they shed tiny water cells which help them in transferring energy to each other. In the same way, wind turbines can be placed in a strategic array to achieve optimal power output. Next slide, sir. Darkling beetles of Namib Desert can direct water towards its mouth from dew and ocean fog with the help of micro-sized grooves on their forewings. By mimicking this, we can create self-filling water bottles. When kingfishers move from air to water, they make no noise due to the structure of their beaks. This idea is mimicked in bullet trains to avoid sonic booms caused while exiting tunnels. Shark skin is covered by tiny V-shaped scales called dermal denticles. These reduce the drag and help them swim faster. This is mimicked in airplanes, ships, and wind turbines to reduce energy inefficiency caused by drag. Next slide, sir. The main objective of my project is to create an energy-efficient light bulb system by biomimicking the property of bioluminescence found in most marine animals and are commonly seen in fireflies. By doing so, we can prevent the loss of energy in the form of heat. Next slide, sir. Most of the time, at dusk, when we see fireflies buzzing around, flashing lights all around us, we would have surely enjoyed the spectacular show by nature. This phenomenon is called bioluminescence. Bioluminescence is light produced by chemical reaction within a living organism. This light generates less than 20% of heat. So this is also known as cold light. Most of these organisms are marine and few are also found on land. Next slide, sir. Bioluminescence can be used by organisms for defense, hunting, and mating. The first image depicts defense mechanism, commonly known as smokescreen. The prey emits a glowing fluid or a cloud of spark to misdirect the predator. The second one shows lure, a hunting mechanism by which fishes like anglerfish use their glowing flesh as a bat. Like moth to a fire, prey is drawn to the glow produced. The last one shows mating. Flickers of light signals that a bioluminescent insect is ready to meet its new mate. Next slide, sir. Here's a chart representing the mechanism by which fireflies produce light. When oxygen combines with calcium, ATP, and luciferin in presence of luciferase produces oxidized luciferin. This oxidized luciferin reacts with luciferase to produce excited oxyluciferin. When this excited oxyluciferin returns to the ground state, it emits a photon of light. Next slide, sir. As said before, very less or no heat is produced during this reaction. By taking hydrogen gas in a container coated with fluorescent material and by passing alternating current, we can excite the atom, and when it returns back to the ground state, a photon of light is emitted. The light produced will not flicker as seen in fireflies. Energy absorbed will be completely converted into light energy, and hence we can reduce the power consumption, which will lead to sustainable use of energy. Next slide, sir. So now let's see the principles on which the light system works: absorption and emission. In absorption, atom changes from ground to excited state by absorbing energy. The reverse of this process is called emission. When electrons absorb energy, they can't stay in excited state for a long time. They soon return to the ground state by emitting light. Next slide, sir. Ways of exciting an atom. Exciting an atom requires the input of energy. The two most common ways of supplying energy are by an electric potential or a flame. The setup for the experiment is as follows. In a discharge tube, a high voltage is placed through a gas. The color we see is the color of light emitted when atom returns to ground state. Next slide, sir. A spectroscope is composed of slit, grating, and a scale in a housing. The light comes in the slit from the excited atom, is dispersed and viewed on a scale with our eyes. This concludes the practical portion of the experiment. Next slide, sir. So now let's see if these light systems are more efficient than the LED light system, which we use in our day-to-day lives. Bioluminescent light generates less than 20% of less than 20% of heat, while LED light can produce more than 20% of heat. Bioluminescent light does not emit UV rays and also does not produce blue light, while LED lights produce these, which is also hazardous to our eyes. Bioluminescent light does not need any filament, while LED light is made of filament. So, in conclusion, so next slide, please. I would like to say that biomimicry can be used in various fields to bring up a nature-friendly and a sustainable development. If we choose to truly mimic life's geniuses, the future we see would be beauty and abundance and certainly fewer regrets. Next slide, sir. Before ending my presentation, I would like to thank IISc for providing such a golden opportunity and to my teacher, Indumati ma'am, for her constant guidance and supervision, as well as for providing necessary information regarding the project. I also thank my family members for helping me in the completion of my project and IISc for streaming this event live on YouTube. Next slide, sir. So here are some links which I had referred in completion of my project. Next slide, sir. Thank you all for patiently listening to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sansita, for that presentation. Now let's see if judges have any questions for you.
Sansita,
Yes, ma'am.
what are the threats faced by fireflies?
Ma'am, threats and since ma'am, this project isn't based on fireflies, ma'am. It's like mostly what we learn from them. So I'm not sure what the threats are. I didn't research on that.
Okay, so what is the outcome of the study? What you want to convey to the people?
Ma'am, so there is a solution for every problem in the world, but the secret is like how we solve the problem on our needs. So if we really want to survive in this world in a long run, we must take care of our Mother Earth. And as a species, our work is to create designs and strategies that move us to being better adapted to life on Earth. So in this process, we don't have much time for experiments and trials in bringing new technologies and just try them if they are not harmful for the Earth or not. So what I say is we can learn from nature. Like already nature has created solution for everything in the world. So in the same way, when I look for some new strategy, what I found out was like when fireflies are emitting that light, there is no heat production in that. While in our day-to-day life, which bulb we use, there is at least some amount of heat produced. Like if fireflies, if they produce heat, it may kill them. It may even be very harmful to them. So I thought of implementing this mechanism in our day-to-day life. So this is what my project is based on.
Okay, thank you.
Sansita,
Yes, ma'am.
so can you give an example of any monument that is done using biomimicry?
Ma'am, there was one monument, I'm not sure where it is. So it was based on termites, ma'am, on how the termites build their home. So based on that, a cooling system was ensured in that. So I remember that one. I don't remember the name of the monument, ma'am.
Any monument in India?
No, ma'am. As far as I have researched, no.
Okay, thank you.
Sanchita, there was one news in the paper that Udupi, the rivers, had this bioluminescence. So, have you searched about that? And do you think you can come out with something that you can do with those weeds or algae which are forming them?
Ma'am, weeds and algae, so dinoflagellates, ma'am, they create that blue waves in sea during night times at times, but I don't think they can help in this mechanism, ma'am. So I just saw how they work, how they are able to produce light, what kind of reaction is taking place. So my idea is implementing the same reaction in our home. I'm not sure if weeds can be used. Yeah.
Algae can be used, you're not sure about it.
Mostly they can't, ma'am. We can't do like that because here I was more specific to the reaction taking place and how from the reaction light is being produced that without producing heat. Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Using the luciferase enzyme, an organism was made bioluminescent artificially using genetic engineering. Do you know which is that organism?
I'm not sure, ma'am, but I saw one other such thing, ma'am. Like using the same bioluminescence, what they had tried is in plants they were trying to genetically engineer the trees actually,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah. Do you know which plant it is?
I'm not sure, ma'am. It was a tree or wheat plant or something. I'm not sure. But they were like they will plant it on the road so that we don't need to use tube lights in roads. That was the idea which is already there. They are working on it, ma'am.
Okay.
Sansita Varshini.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have one small question for you. Have you researched on any other biomimicry projects or prototypes which are available already, which is based on bioluminescence?
No, sir. I have researched. As far as I saw, only this idea. Right now, I said no, sir. Genetically engineering the same. Only that was available, sir. That too, they are working on it. It's not yet in existence. Yeah,
Okay.
sir. Only this one.
Do you know certain types of jellyfish can produce bioluminescence as well?
Yeah, sir. Yeah,
Okay, based on
Stenophora.
that, yeah.
Comb jellies and
So based
Stenophora.
on that, there are some projects. So I think it would also help you in if you just researched about it and read a little bit more and see how it is similar. Uh, I think that would be fine. And
Okay, sir.
the other thing I wanted to ask is, how did you get this idea of fireflies and using that bioluminescence for lighting our homes?
Yes, sir. So what happened was, first I was when I prepared this project, I had no idea about that. But later, when my teacher suggested that don't you try to implement something by yourself, you can give idea. She had suggested me, sir. So then after her suggestion, I went to YouTube and other websites, and I just thought which animal should I choose so that I can come up with my own idea. So always fireflies I've seen, sir. So I've even wondered how they produce light. That question was there in me. So I thought, why don't I search it once? So when I saw that mechanism, I said no, it's absorption and emission. The same thing is actually taught in school for us in 11th in chemistry. So I thought, okay, if this can possible, and there are even some experiments conducted, as I mentioned, spectroscope experiment and others. So it is possible. So I thought, why can't we mimic this and produce the light, even if it is possible? Then I went on Google and searched what are the requirements of mine. So I searched those requirements, and it was like possible, I felt. So I thought I'll present this idea. This is how I got this idea, sir.
Okay, thank you, Sanchita. Are there any other questions?
Yes, Riju, I have one. So thank you, Sanchita, for that very prepared presentation. It was there was no stammering here and there, so it was nicely presented. But I have a few queries. Was that I got to know this is a fact that you have brought up, right? This fireflies being used for the LEDs. You are claiming that it is a cold light.
Cold
that
light,
is
yes,
there.
ma'am.
So, yeah. So what about LEDs then? LEDs are also known as cold. It also produces less amount of heat than the fluorescent and the other tube lights, right?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, they do, ma'am. But this is just a new approach, and I felt like even this can, according to me, this can even produce less heat than the LEDs, ma'am.
Okay.
And one more thing is, ma'am, you would have heard that LED, like when during night when we sleep and the light is on, it disturbs our hormones. We have heard it, no, ma'am.
Yes, that's true, and also it hampers the vision. Also, is what they say.
Yeah, ma'am.
So eye irritations and all. Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am. And one more thing was like when I saw about LED lights difference, and I found out that even a very less amount of UV rays is also emitted in LED lights, and also the blue lights, ma'am, because our screen is also made up of LEDs, and we know that blue lights are continuously being emitted, which is dangerous to our eyes also. But when I thought of this bioluminescence, but I felt these things are not there in that. As far as research, there was nothing given like that about bioluminescent light. So what I felt was this can be implemented instead of that. So even it can reduce the risk, no, ma'am. That's what I meant. I had even given a difference table also, ma'am.
Yes, I have seen it, but this is just an crude way of understanding how fireflies can be also be implemented. It is very fine, but have you ever observed that fireflies, it is not continuous form of light. It produces, and then it is a pulsating light, right?
Ma'am, I had also mentioned in the slide that this light won't flicker, ma'am, because here the process which we use is different. Actually, in fireflies, they don't have a proper circulatory system. Their circulatory system is open type. So when this reaction, main part is oxygen. So it can control the how much oxygen is going to that particular organ where light is produced. That is luciferase. So in that way, it is controlling it. It's emitting that type of light. So all the fireflies won't emit the same type of light. Actually, if you just go and research, they one type of species, each species will do different way. So it's fireflies emit light basically for mating. So according to the light emitted, the female ones just find which is the perfect mate for it. That's what's happening in firefly.
Biologically, I understand that, but if you want to scale up to an industry level or you want to bring it equivalent to an LED light, so do you say that biologically produce the organism and then make it bioluminous so that you get light out of it? That is what you mean to say, or how is it? Because I got the objective of like I was like interested in knowing what groundwork you have done on that. But I couldn't find anything, and suddenly the spectroscopy principle came into play. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
ma'am.
how to connect that spectroscopy thing with this biomimicry and then scaling up. Have you thought about that? Or
Yeah,
it
ma'am.
is just that.
Just a second, ma'am. So what I mean is, I just as I said, I studied the reaction. I didn't mean to take luciferase here. I meant to take hydrogen gas. Like we take a bulb-like system in which we use hydrogen gas, and we are gonna like coat it with fluorescent material like zinc sulfate, and then we are gonna place the hydrogen gas inside and supply electricity to it. So here, what happens
Okay.
is the atom goes to excited and ground state. When this shift happens, only light is being produced. Where in my model I'm saying we'll take some gas, but what in this firefly, what's happening is it's using its own organ, that is luciferase. That's what happening
Okay.
here, and in my model, ma'am. And you asked about scaling it, right, ma'am? It is possible, ma'am, because here there is no control of the reaction. It's like taking the reaction from the firefly and then implementing here. So it's possible, ma'am. And hydrogen gas is also more easily available, and it's most abundant also on our earth. So I felt it's possible.
Okay. If I'm taking it right, like you mean to say that luciferase enzyme has to be replaced with a normal chemical based the
Any gas,
material
ma'am.
what we are using now.
Yeah, any
No,
gas,
hydrogen
ma'am.
gas is going to be the same, but instead of the other material which you said like zinc sulfate, you are going to replace this with luciferase enzyme. Is that what you
Like
meant?
the zinc sulfate is just a coating on the glass, ma'am.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, ma'am. It is a fluorescent material, ma'am. That's all.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Seems like you have researched a lot in this biomimicry. All the best. So keep up that spirit and then go about doing something in future also. No, don't stop it right here. Okay, that's what is my advice. Thank you for the nice presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sansita, and thank you, judges. Now we'll move to the next presentation. Inchara P, are you there?
Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are. Okay, you can start when you're ready.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Inchara from Vidyaniketan PU College, and my topic for the presentation is carrying capacity of river basins in Western Ghats. Next slide, sir. Next slide, sir. So to start with, what is carrying capacity? It refers to the maximum number of activities that the ecosystem can support without causing damage to the existing quality. That is, in simple terms, the river system must be able to cater to both the ecological as well as the anthropogenic demand. Next slide, sir. So coming to the objectives of my study, it is basically to compare the carrying capacity of two river basins I have chosen, that is River Kali and River Ettinahole, and also to look into the different parameters such as rainfall, land use, population density, and how they account for the carrying capacity, and also to see the different anthropogenic activities and how they have altered the carrying capacities. Next slide, sir. These are the references I have used for my presentation. Next slide, sir. So some of the keywords used in my presentation are evapotranspiration. Evapotranspiration is the sum of evaporation and transpiration. Infiltration is the amount of water that is seeping into the ground or the subsurface of the soil, which recharges the groundwater. And evapotranspiration is of two types, that is potential evapotranspiration and actual evapotranspiration, where the potential evapotranspiration is the evapotranspiration happening when there is excess or sufficient moisture available for the vegetation. transpiration, whereas the actual evapotranspiration is the real evapotranspiration happening in a certain situation or a specific condition. Ecohydro index is the ratio of infiltration to the evapotranspiration. So higher the value, it indicates that there is better availability of water, and lesser the value indicates poor availability of water. Next slide, sir. So the study areas are River Kali Basin and River Ettinahole Basin. River Kali originates at a village called Diggi of Supa Taluk in Uttar Kannada district, and it flows for a distance of 184 kilometers and then joins the Arabian Sea. It has a catchment area of 5,086 square kilometers, whereas River Ettinahole, it originates at an altitude of 950 meters in Sakleshpura Taluk of Hassan district, and it is the headstream or tributary of River Gundia, which in turn is a tributary of River Netravati, and it has a catchment area of 179.68 square kilometers. Next slide, sir. This slide shows the map of the both the regions, that is River Kali Basin and River Ettinahole Basin. Next slide, sir. Next slide, sir. To talk about the stream network, we see that the stream network in River Kali Basin is sparse. So previous. Sir, previous slide. We see that the stream network is sparse towards the Belgaum and Dharwad region in River Kali, whereas it is denser in the Sahyadrian Ghat. And in River Ettinahole Basin, we see that the stream network is of higher density. Next slide, sir. To talk about the rock and soil types, the rock type found in River Kali Basin are mainly granites such as schist, shale, quartzite, phyllites, etc. And there are different types of soils found too, that is red soil, lateritic soil, etc. But in River Ettinahole, the main rock type found is gneiss rocks, and the soil type is mainly loamy soil, which ranges from sandy loamy to clay loamy. Next slide, sir. To talk about the rainfall distribution, we see that in both the basin, July is the month where the highest rainfall is recorded, but the regions receiving the highest rainfall, that is greater than 4,500 millimeter rainfall. In River Kali Basin, we see the two regions, that is a one marked with red color. Next slide, sir. In Ettinahole Basin, we see there is only a small patch of region having that red color in the left-hand corner. Next slide, sir. To see the land use in both the regions, we see that the evergreen forest, which was 61.79% in 1973, has come down to 38.50% as of 2016. We see that the declining rate is very much high, and which has to be concerned. But on the other hand, we see that the forest plantations, croplands, and the other things have increased in their percentage. Next slide, sir. In Ettinahole River Basin, we see that the major portion of the area is covered by the green forest, that is 45.08%. Next slide, sir. In the Gundia River Basin, of which the Ettinahole is the headstream, we see that the forest area, which was 70.74% in 2000, has come down to 61.15% as of 2014. Though we see some decrease in the forest area here, but the declining rate is not that high as it was in the Kali River Basin. And we also see that there is some increase in the percentage of the other things like plantation built up, but the rate is again not high. Next slide, sir. To now see about the population density, we see that the population is gradually increasing in all the regions of the Kali River Basin, whereas in Ettinahole River Basin, next slide, sir. In Ettinahole River Basin, we see that from 1991 to 2001, there is increase in population density at a very high rate. From 2001 to 2011, the population density has come down drastically, which is majorly due to the migration to cities. And from 2011 to 2014, it has still more come down. Next slide, sir. So to conclude, we see that the Kali River Basin has a very high declining rate of forest area, but the population is growing at a very high rate. But in Ettinahole River Basin, we see that there is some sustainable amount of forest area, but the population is decreasing. In this slide, we see that in Kali River Basin, in the forest area, the infiltration is greater than the evapotranspiration, leading to a sufficient water condition where the supply is greater than demand. But the regions apart from the forest area has higher evapotranspiration than the infiltration, leading to a water scarce situation where the demand is more than the supply. Next slide, sir. Here we see the 13 subbasins of River Kali Basin, and 10 subbasin accounts for the highest area of forest and rainfall and infiltration too. As I said earlier, the eco-hydro index value, some of the basins have higher value of eco-index indicating the better availability of water, and some basins have lesser value of eco-hydro index indicating the poor availability of water. On a whole, we can see that the Kali River Basin is just able to satisfactorily able to cater to both the demands, that is the ecological as well as the anthropogenic demand. Next slide, sir. But in Ettinahole Basin, we see that the water yield in the catchment is 9.55 TMC, but the demand is just 5.84 TMC. So there is some ecological flow happening too, that is 2.8 TMC, which is able to cater to the ecological demand, that is for the sustenance or the survival of the riverine ecosystem. So if we have to compare both of the carrying capacity of both the basins, we see that Ettinahole River Basin has a better carrying capacity than that of the Kali River Basin. The carrying capacity of the Kali River Basin has come down due to the different unplanned developmental activities taking place. But this Ettinahole River Basin carrying capacity would not extend for a longer time because the Ettinahole diversion project is coming up, which severely affects the ecosystem. Next slide, sir. So I would like to thank the college management for providing such opportunity, and also my teacher who kept me supporting, and also Rajkishore Singh sir who guided me through the project. Next slide, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Inchira, for that presentation. Now let's see if judges have any questions.
Inchira?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you understand by hydrological footprint and how to assess it?
Ma'am, the hydrological footprint is basically when a water flow or the water system is there, how the water is able to serve for the different purposes, such as it may be for the cropland or horticultural crops or the forest or different types of land uses, how it is able to cater to all those. And there are many for assessing all these things, finally we can assess the ecological hydro footprint.
So another question is, can you elaborate on the eco-hydrological assessment of Kali River Basin?
Yes, ma'am. As I said, there are 13 subbasins in the Kali River Basin, ma'am. Each of the subbasin has different forest area, different areas, and the different infiltration values. But as I said, there was one subbasin which had the highest forest area. But if you see the area, total area it was a smaller area, and it had highest rainfall too. So we see that the forest area directly the rainfall directly depends on the forest area. So some the subbasins which had higher forest area had higher rainfall, which leads to the higher value of eco-hydro index, catering to the better availability of water, while those which had lesser forest area received lesser rainfall, and hence they had the lesser value of eco-hydro index, due to which there was poor availability of water.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Inchira?
Yes, ma'am.
What recommendation would you suggest government to sustain continuous supply of water in these areas?
Like as I said, the Kali River Basin is just satisfactorily able to cater to the demands, while Ettinahole, as of now, it is able to cater completely to both the demands. But as of now, the Ettinahole diversion project is coming up, where the water is being diverted from Ettinahole to the arid regions, where the water, drinking water for the drinking water purpose. But this would for this project, it requires many dams and pipelines to be laid, ma'am. So in that process, many ecosystems would be lost, and it would severely have an impact on the ecosystem. Instead of that, in the arid regions, they can come up with different techniques, such as even water harvesting systems or wastewater treatment. These water cannot be used for the drinking purposes, but they can be used for the other purpose than drinking purpose. And what is the main source of water that they can use for the drinking purpose?
And as a non-resident of this Western Ghats from Bangalore, as an individual, what would you contribute to the study?
Ma'am, I couldn't hear you completely.
As a non-resident of Western Ghats and from sitting in Bangalore,
Yes, ma'am.
What would your contribution be?
I'm like spreading awareness is one of the main thing. Like if we have to realize to the people that they can by themselves harvest water, do not generate a lot of wastewater, and they can come up with many conservation techniques too. Suggesting those would be a better option, and making them realize uh, is the main one.
Thank you, Injira.
Thank you, ma'am.
You have said that the forest cover and water carrying capacity is related. So, you as a person, what would you do to enhance the forest cover in these areas? Because, as ma'am previously pointed out, you're sitting in Bangalore, and what can you do to enhance the forest cover?
Ma'am, now the restoration of the forest is a very apt thing. Like the forest covers cannot be brought back, which are lost, but the what forest cover is still there, that if we conserve, it might be a better option. And instead of more urbanization, we have to look to techniques where it is both useful for the humans as well as the environment too.
Actually, a very large area of mangroves have been cut in Kali River, and those conservation of mangroves in Kali River is a huge necessity as of now. And ecotourism is providing this kind of a massive restoration of mangroves in Kali River. So that policy has to be put across to the government. Also, by you students, you have to associate yourself to the schools and according to the Kali River areas, and wherever the river is flowing, and connect with them and start enhancing the tree cover, as well as the mangrove forest. Okay, that can be one of your projects later. Thank
Yes,
you so much.
thank you, ma'am.
Inchara, Saranya here.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I have a question, like to rephrase what Cincy ma'am had asked. So do you have any idea on how to assess the hydrological footprint? Because you have, in your research and discussion, you have shown some colorful images of Kali
Yes,
and the other river basin. So do you have an idea from where do the data come from?
ma'am. Like
Data
the
on any data, take that chart you were showing, no, the bar graphs.
Yes, ma'am.
So have you researched on where how did they collect the data in first place?
Yes, ma'am. For some, I have looked
Okay.
into, ma'am. Like for the rainfall, they collect the data from the rain gauge stations at different places, and for population density
Okay.
through the census data. And the primary data is
Right.
from the field investigation, while the secondary data is from the various resources. And the land use analysis is from the remote sensing data. From the yes.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
simple question. What do you understand by land use of a
Ma'am?
region?
Ma'am, I couldn't hear.
What do you understand by land use?
Ma'am, the different uses, the how the land is used for different purposes, ma'am. Like as I mentioned, for the for growing the horticultural crops, or for the agricultural plantations, forest plantations, and for the buildings to be constructed, and how much the forest area is being occupied, like that, ma'am.
Okay, so what are the ecological services provided by?
Ma'am, your voice was breaking. Sorry, ma'am.
What are the ecological services provided by a river basin?
Ecological services, ma'am, like it may be for the fisheries, ma'am. The people get benefited by the fisheries, and also it might be used for the drinking water purpose, and it basically helps for the sustenance of the aquatic biota.
Okay,
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, are there any other questions for Inchara? All right, Inchara, any particular reason why you have selected these two river basins and not any other in the Western Ghats?
Nothing as such, sir. Like I found interesting in these two regions, because when we compare the catchment areas, sir, we see that the Kali River catchment area is very huge, while the Etinaole catchment area is very less. But also the Kali River catchment is not able to cater completely to both the demands, whereas the Etinaole catchment, having a smaller area, it is able to completely cater to both the demands. Is one of the points.
That is something that you would have known after researching about the river basins, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what my question is, what made you select these two in particular? What is that interest? You said you were interested in these two. So what was that particular interest before you did any type of research on the river basins?
Nothing as such, sir. Like I was interested something in carrying capacity, sir. Like so I looked into some of the research papers where I could find the carrying capacity of different river basins, and these were the two which I found was very clear, and to my knowledge I could understand it better. So I compared these two, sir. And since the Etinaole had also was being the Etinaole diversion project was coming up, so I could relate these two and do it, sir.
Okay, thank you, Inchara. Now we'll move to the next presentation. Thank you, judges. Asha Priya?
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Please ensure you have stable
Yes,
internet
sir.
connection. And you can start
Yes, sir.
whenever
May I
you're
start?
ready. Yes.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone present here. I'm Asha Priya GM from Presidency PU College, and I'm here to present my project on an enhancement of aeronautics using biomimicry. Next slide, please. Birds are warm-blooded chordates, which most of them have the ability to fly with the help of their wings. Birds have various adaptations and alterations in the body structure, which allows them to have a perfect flight, takeoff, and landing. The design of the present-day airplanes, are inspired from the birds, which is a major case of biomimicry. Furthermore, adaptations derived from birds can be implemented for the betterment of aviation technology. My observations were on pachyriforms or the backyard birds, their food, flight, body adaptations, nestings, and so on. Since most of the terrestrial birds have similar aviation techniques, I would like to explain it later. Next slide, please. The objectives for the project are to study the aviation and other flight dynamics in different pachyriforms and perform a comparative study between the birds and the airplanes and give out the probable ideologies to the improvisation in aviation technologies using biomimicry techniques. Next slide, please. Coming to methods and materials, the observations were performed from my house present at Bengaluru, Yelahanka North, Palanahalli, which is close to a lake, at 13.16 degree north and 77.60 degree east. And as you can view my graph, the highest number of species are recorded in June, since it was the breeding time for the birds, next May and July. Next slide, please. These are now I would like to show you my observations. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide, please. Coming to bird's flight, aeroplane flight in comparison, everything about the anatomy of a bird, reflects its ability of flight. The wings are shaped to support lift or the force upwards. The reason birds flap wings is to generate thrust or the force to move forward. This way, the birds fly higher and forward. The leading edge is thicker than the back edge, and they are covered in feathers that narrow to a point, as you can view here in the picture. Aeroplanes have similar structure called slats and flaps, respectively. The bones and muscles of the wing are also highly specialized. The tail feathers are used for steering. This adaptation derived from the bird is called horizontal stabilizers in an aeroplane. They are used for wind direction tracking as well as steering. All these anatomical adaptations would be useless without an efficient respiratory system to power up everything. The lungs of the birds have been perfectly designed for flight. Unlike the elastic bones of we humans, birds have wings that don't expand or contract. It takes two inhalations for air to go throughout the entire system. This allows the bird to have a continual flow of oxygen. Next slide, please. Talking about the wing position, during landing, the area of the wings are increased by extending the feathers at its back edge and is slightly curved downwards, which creates drag and helps the bird for accurate landing. Aeroplanes' flaps may be fully extended during landing, which allows the aircraft to land in a shorter distance. While landing, they land in a sloping position with the heel landing first, later the front part of the feet. Aeroplanes do the same too. They have two main set of wheels, one's near the fuselage, a set of two wheels, and other the main landing gear, a set of 7 main gears. The time lag between landing of tail wheels at the fuselage and main landing gear or the nose wheels is 6.5 to 7 seconds. In case of wet or slippery environmental conditions for a bird, the time lag between placing the heel and the front part of its feet increases, due to which the area decreases and friction increases, enabling them to stop perfectly. Next slide, please. I would like to show you an example here where you can see a bird is trying to land on a watery surface, and you can observe that its wings are expanded and completely expanded, and its feet, the front part is not landed first. The back part of its feet is landed first, later the front part. After they land, the whole weight on its body falls onto its legs, where cramps and fractures of the bones may occur. To overcome this, a bone named tibia with thigh muscles act as shock absorbers. Aeroplanes have a device called struts, which transmit shock loads of landing, takeoff, and taxi to the aeroplane structure. The primary angle of attack during the landing of aeroplane is 15 to 20 degree, and normal angle of descent profile is 3 degree. Next slide, please. There has been a recent disaster occurred on August 7, 2020. The aircraft crashed due to overshoot in Kozhikode, due to which 17 people have succumbed to death. Although the reasons for the aircraft crash has not yet been released by AAIB, the aviation experts have come across with three major probabilities: pilot's error, strong tailwinds, and hydroplaning. I would like to concentrate only on hydroplaning. Hydroplaning is a process on which a layer of water, at least 3 mm, builds up between the wheels of the aircraft and the runway surface, leading to a loss of traction that prevents the aircraft from responding to control inputs. Hydroplaning can be a major cause for the crash. Next slide, please. But how do birds tackle this condition? On doing a comparative study on how birds tackle hydroplaning-like conditions, I was able to draw out possible solutions to overcome hydroplaning. Those are: 1. To increase the time lag between the landing of hind wheels, that is near the fuselage, and the nose wheels. 2. By increasing the length of the oleo cylinder and the oleo piston of the nose wheels, because when the time lag is increased, it stays in leaning position for a long time. That is, it stays in 15 degree for more than 7 seconds. So for the grip, the non-functional devices of the nose gear is increased. This creates no change in opening of the landing gears. At 9.5 seconds, the aircraft slowly acquires 180 position or final angle of descent 3 degree by compressing of the nose gears. The tail part of the aircraft, the part where horizontal stabilizers are placed, has to be increased to 10 to 15 degree from 0 degree, so that during its leaning position, the tail doesn't contact the ground. Next slide, please. Coming to why this can be possible, birds tackle hydroplaning kind of situation, like as I showed you in the clip earlier. This can be implemented as a case of biomimicry in the airplanes. Birds use brains, but airplane runs with human brains. So if we improvise the artificial intelligence, the causes for accidents can be decreased. Drawbacks. On the consultation with an aviation expert, certain drawbacks were found. Few of those were: the alteration of the nose wheels is not the only parameter required to be altered in order to overcome hydroplaning. There are several other parameters to be altered, like braking systems inside the cockpit, air suckers, and so on. One of the parameter would be the nose wheels. Then, keeping the airplane in leaning position for longer time can increase even the area of resistance for the thrust force, enabling the airplane to stop perfectly. But there are chances for the turbulence to increase. Next slide, please. I would like to express my gratitude to my guides, Mr. Vrijulal, Mr. Surendra, and Ms. Akshata, and of course my parents who supported me throughout the project and stayed by my side. Next slide, please. So these are my references. Next slide, please. Biomimicry can be implemented using the technology in the modern era. So we have many things to learn from the nature. So this biomimicry on further research can be implemented and can improvise the artificial intelligence. Thank you all.
Thank you, Asha, for that presentation. Now let's see if judges have any questions for you.
Asha,
Yes, ma'am.
what is the outcome of this study?
Ma'am, there are like accidents going on. Like two major accidents are the one in Mangalore, and the recent one is in Kozhikode. Like many nature lovers do bird watching, ma'am. So like from bird watching we have to learn something, right? Like from the nature we have to learn something. So learning something from there and implementing the artificial intelligence, we can overcome success, like we can be succeeded. So the thing is we have to learn something from the nature and it has to be useful too.
So next question is, what do you understand by biomimicry and how will you implement this biomimicry concept in the future?
Ma'am, biomimicry is mimicking something from the nature, ma'am. For example, in this project, I have to mimic the way birds land on the wet and slippery conditions. And coming to your next question, ma'am, the way birds land, are implemented in the aeroplanes, ma'am. Like they know how to land in each and every condition, every environmental conditions. So the way they land, they of course they alter their body structure, but aeroplane it can't alter its body structure every time, no ma'am. So we have to alter certain equipments in the aeroplane so that when similar environmental conditions are if the aeroplane approaches, then it can have a safe landing.
So in the future, you will work on this concept, is it?
Yes, ma'am. I'll certainly do it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Asha, am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so since you have assimilated these data, where do you plan on applying this other than in aeronautics?
Ma'am, this is only regarding aeronautics, ma'am, because I studied only the flight and the landing techniques in the birds. So this can be implemented only in the improvisation in aeroplanes, ma'am. Only in the field of aeronautics this is possible.
Nowhere else bird mimicry can be implemented?
Ma'am, I couldn't hear you.
Nowhere else can you implement bird mimicry, like the structure of the birds or the feather, the beak?
No, structure of the bird, it can be implemented in many things, ma'am. Like for example, the kingfisher's beak in the bullet train, it can be implemented in many ways, ma'am. If you start doing or doing the research in the structure of a bird and so on, But my research was only on the research was mainly on the bird landing techniques, ma'am, flight and landing techniques. So that can be implemented in the aeronautics only.
Okay, so with this knowledge, would you carry this project further, or what do you plan on doing?
Yes, ma'am, I'll do it because I'm interested in aeronautics too, and I love bird watching. So yes, ma'am, if there are chances, I'll certainly do it. I'll surely do it, ma'am.
You had to improve one of the feature of the aeroplane, the current aeroplanes. What would it be, given the knowledge that you have gotten as of now?
Ma'am, if I would like to state, I can do it only in the nose gas, ma'am. The braking systems in the nose gas, I can do it only in that thing now. Like presently, it takes a lot of time, but for now we can do it in the nose gas, ma'am.
Asha,
Judges, any other? Yeah, please
a
proceed.
big part of the flight is the wings. So you have not done anything to the wings. If you notice the biomimicry, you'll always understand the use of wings by the birds, which are collapsible, and which is not so collapsible in the kind of aeronautics as we say. So, do you think in the future we can have collapsible wings for the aeroplanes? Do you suggest that, or would your project look into something like that, other than just landing gears?
Ma'am, wings, the mechanism of wings, like almost 95% of it is implemented. Like the expansion of flaps during landing, birds do the same. Like they expand the feathers at the back edge of their wings. So it's done, ma'am. The chances for biomimicry implementation in the wings is less, but in the braking systems and all, it can be done. Regarding the wings, it is actually less, ma'am.
Yes, there is a great option there. So thank you for your effort. Your project looks good. It has a good potential. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, Asha, Saranya here. So your presentation was nice. I had I concur with Sarah ma'am. There is always a trade-off between when you come see the in nature there is that biomimicry and what they have adapted is through evolution, right? But when you think in terms of aeronautics, you have to have a heavy metal body or a thing that we have to carry something. So it is always when safety comes into play. So we have to choose a metal or a material that is very heavy, right? So what do you suggest after seeing this? So what alloy or a metal do you suggest for making it relatable to this birds? Do you have any idea about that, to make it lightweight yet go for a better rigidity or flexibility? Because I see there is a trade-off between what birds do and what we need as in aeronautics or the flight.
Ma'am, regarding the metals and the materials for the aeroplane's body, I don't have much knowledge about it. The thing we can do is we can increase the number of levers, ma'am, because the braking system mainly it depends on the number of levers, the way it expands and contracts. So if we try to increase the number of levers in the nose gas, the braking system might be improvised. Coming to the material, I don't think I don't have any knowledge on material, ma'am, because the airplanes are already made of aluminum, and that's actually lightweight, so materials don't play a role much here.
Okay. So in the you are concentrating mainly on the while the flight is landing, how the birds are adjusting itself to the like reduce the effort or the friction and then land it smoothly. That way you are trying to mimic that towards a brake system. Is it so?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I was not there for quite a few of your slides because I was thrown out, but it's okay, fine. Good effort, but I didn't get a clarity on what you are actually expecting towards a braking system as well as the flight landing of these birds. I'm still not convinced. It's okay. I'll.
No, actually, if I was presenting, I would be able to show it through a cursor, ma'am, the parts of the airplane and all. But here, I don't have the chance of that.
Okay.
So, the usage of cursor, like, it would have been much help to me.
That's fine. That's fine. I saw the later part of your presentation, but yet it's fine. Nice presentation because maybe I'm not like clear with the concept of how it is done. Thank you. Anyways.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, Asha, thank you for the presentation. Now, one question I have is, have you consulted with anybody in the field of aeronautics to understand if your idea is implementable or not?
Yes, sir. I've consulted. That's what he's Mr. Surendra. He works in Saffron Aeronautics. So he mainly works in the landing gear thing only, sir. So he himself told me about the increase in the turbulence, and he also suggested me that nose gear could not be only the parameter in the braking system. Like he told, there are several other parameters. Like there are air suckers and others, so in the cockpit and so on. There are many other parameters, so this can be one of the parameter.
Okay, so this has to be used in combination with other parameters considered.
Yes, sir. And he also suggested me that this research could be much more successful because like most of the research is done only on the runway surface conditions. Like when you try to look at the other research papers and all, many of them are of runway surface conditions only, so this can be much successful.
Okay, thank you, Asha. If there are no questions, we can proceed to the next presentation. Okay, looks like there are no other questions, Asha. So we'll move on to the next presentation. Thank you, judges.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ravi Kirtan, are you there?
Yes, sir. Can I start, sir?
Hold on one moment. Yeah, you can start when you're ready.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Ravi Kirtan Tumbe from Presidency School, Bangalore South, and I'll be presenting my research on the topic food culture of the tribes of Nagarahole. In the name of development, tourism, wildlife act, forest policy, the tribals have been displaced and a few of them have been rehabilitated. This has resulted in the decrease of their population, culture, and knowledge of the forests. But my concern is to safeguard and implement some of their practices, as these practices are relevant for the present society. Next slide. Introduction. Nagarahole National Park is located in Kodagu and Mysore district in Karnataka. It covers an area of approximately 640 square kilometer. The vegetation in Nagarahole is dry and moist deciduous. Next slide. The main tribal communities in Nagarahole include Jenukuruba, Bettakuruba, Yarava, Paniyapanjeri, and Soliga. Next slide, sir. This is the extent of the Nagarahole National Park. Next slide. Objectives. My objectives is to learn their eco-friendly thoughts, conservation, and food gathering practices, and to incorporate their ideals into the modern society. Next slide, sir. Shelter. They live in houses made of bamboo, dry sticks, dry leaves, and mud, which provide a cooling effect to those who take shelter. This is an image of their shelter. Next slide, sir. Food habits. Their food includes forest fruits, green leafy vegetables, and roots. They also consume honey, meat, rice, karebatta, ragi, and bamboo rice. Here shown here is a picture of a type of pumpkin which is extensively consumed by the tribes of Nagarhole. In the following slides, I'll be showing around 30 different types of green leafy vegetables, fruits, and tubers which are consumed by the tribes of Nagarhole. Next slide. This is a list of green leafy vegetables consumed, like ganike soppu, ondelaga, onagone, etc. Next slide, sir. These are the pictures. Next slide. Next slide. This is a list of some of the fruits consumed by them, like Ramafala, Bettada Nellikai, Bore Hannu, Mullu Hannu. These fruits are highly nutritious. Next slide. Here we can see the Ramafala and many other commonly consumed fruits. Next slide. Next slide. This is a list of the tubers consumed by the tribes. They mainly consume arrowroot, maragenasu, kadugenasu, etc. Next slide. These are the images. Next slide. Next slide. These are the pictures of some of the spices commonly consumed by them. Next slide. Livelihood. They mainly work as mahouts, forest watchers, forest guards, and as workers. They are also involved in collecting forest products like soap nut, shikakai, spices, etc. Next slide. Spiritual beliefs. They worship nature by worshipping the oldest trees and stones in the forest. This is an image of the Devarakadu. Next slide. Preservation and practices. Collection of honey. The tribes wait for a particular season to harvest honey, which in turn gives a better survival rate for the larvae and better honey. They use herbs to create smoke that drives away the bees and harvest only what is necessary, leaving the brood and the larvae intact. Next. Collection of food. While collecting tubers, they leave a small part of the tuber back in the soil and bury it. This process helps the plant to regrow. And while collecting mushrooms, they simultaneously spread the spores across the area. This helps the mushrooms to regrow in a few months. They also collect forest products like amla and shikakai using eco-friendly methods. Bamboo rice is an integral part of the tribal diet. Limited bamboo shoot is harvested from the periphery of the set of bamboos, making sure that the thorns are still intact and also to ensure that they are not eaten away by the wild animals. Next. They cook in earthen pots and use bidiranne made of bamboos for transportation of water. Karebatta and ragi is collected in tuya, which are bamboo baskets with cow dung applied. They collect ripe mangoes that have fallen off, their juice poured in and boiled and then subjected to drying, which is then used for a period of 2 years as a part of spices. Next. Sustainable utilization. These tribes utilize these resources only for their current needs and at the same time keeping in mind the needs of the future. For many generations, they have ensured that they take only what is necessary for daily survival and at the same time treat the whole forest as an entity from which their needs are taken care of. This differs from the consumer culture where a person takes what he wants in bulk more than looking at his immediate needs. This brings about a wastage of resources, which is a serious challenge posed in the current world. Next. This concept is similar to what Gandhi and E.F. Schumacher proposed to his book Small is Beautiful, which focuses on Buddhist economics, unlike today's Western economics. It is centered around simplicity. Participants in the system would produce and consume only the things deemed necessary to survive. Next. Conclusion. Though they may not have any formal education, they are educated enough when it comes to protecting the nature. These practices are relevant in today's society as it encompasses the various needs of the people for the present as well as for the future, thus forming the basis of sustainable food culture. Many plants have begun to disappear even before they can be documented or recognized. Example, Karavadi Soppu, Churi Annu, etc. Thus, it becomes imperative for us to recognize other such plants so that they can be conserved and utilized. Next slide. Acknowledgement. I would like to thank IASC for providing me this opportunity to come up with the project, which may led me to read many other books and papers on Mother Earth. I would also like to thank my school, my biology teacher, my mother, and my family for their valuable suggestions. Most importantly, I would like to thank the tribal leaders and the Budakattu Krishi Sangha for providing their valuable information. Next, these are the references. Thank you.
Ravi Kirtan, thank you for that presentation. Now let's listen to the questions from the judges.
Ravi Kirtan, I would like to initially give you a very good congratulations on one of the best paper that I have come across, because you have gone deep into where we cannot collect much data, and you have collected much of the things which is very, very relevant and almost extant knowledge. I would like to ask you this question. Can you give me the benefits of few fruits and vegetables which are very unique to this kind of tribals and which has huge health benefits which we can use it?
These fruits are unlike today's in mainstream society where we grow plants using insecticides and fertilizers. These are grown organically, that is by nature. So these are highly nutritious in themselves, like by themselves. So there are many uses like which how did
There are many rare plants which I have seen in these roots and plants and vegetables which are not much used here and much not available here. So those must have huge medicinal benefits as well as health benefits. So I would like you to have a look into those properties, and then you can integrate that or you can write about that much more. That would be an idea for you. Thank you so much.
Any other questions for Ravi Kirtan?
Ravi Kirtan,
Yes, ma'am.
is there any changes in food habit due to seasonal variation? Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, like in that example, I gave the ripe mangoes as they use the ripe mangoes in their food. These mangoes are usually come during only in 2 to 3 years, and they're not readily available. So their food changes from weather change in weathers. The genasu, the mara genasu is mainly consumed during the monsoon season when they don't have many other fruits available in the forest.
Ravi Kirtan, am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
How would you, like, if you have any suggestion to be given in order to improve the livelihood of these tribes, what would it be? Like in terms of employment or probably their financial status?
First we have to give them their forest rights, and they should be made to live near the forest, which will help them to keep emotional connect with the forests. They can be mainly employed in the forest department. They were inherently forest guards, and they can be guards by working for the forest department. They can be given proper education by providing education near the forest, setting up schools near forests.
Good answer. Thank you, Ravikirtan.
So, which is the predominant tribe in Nagarhole?
The predominant tribe is Jainu Kuruba, followed by Betta Kuruba.
Do they consume livestock products also?
No, ma'am. Not that much. I don't think so.
What do they consume as livestock products?
Ma'am, sorry, ma'am.
What are the livestock products they consume?
They don't actually rear livestock, many livestock. They only consume honey and such. They don't consume milk.
Okay.
Ravikirtan, so it is a nice compilation of work. So congratulations to you. But are these data collected by yourself by after interacting with those tribal people?
I collected this data by interacting with the tribal leaders and by their Pudakattu Krishikara Sangha, which is a organization of the tribals.
Okay. So, and one more thing is like, how remote are they? Like, are these tribal people? And do you say that the globalization has not affected them? They are just within themselves as an indigenous people specific to that area, and they are not influenced by the other culture of by us.
They are influenced by us, but mainly they are slow to interact with the people. The different tribes interact differently with the people. The Soligas, for example, don't interact very much with outsiders.
Okay.
And they have actually come into our mainstream society as such.
Okay, fine. So you mean to say the culture of the like prime culture of them is just degrading us, and when the time is passing, so they are also influenced, right? They have schooling for their kids and all that, or
they have schooling set up near the forests, some of them.
Okay. Okay, Ravikirtan. Anyways, it was it is very nice to see the primary data collected from a place, village, and you have presented that. Good work. Keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, Ravikirtan, has the government initiated any schemes to meet the food security of these tribes?
Food security, I have not researched on their food security till now, or government schemes, but they are being helped by many NGOs.
Okay.
Okay, I think there are no further questions, Ravikirtan. So thank you, and thank you, judges. Now we'll move to the next presentation. Suhas, are you there?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. Sorry. Good afternoon to one and all present here. Respected jury, I'm Suhas R from Vidyaniketan Pre-University, and I'm from first year. And I'm here to present the topic on the paper on soil water retention, a solution to drought affected agriculture. Next slide, sir. Karnataka, being the second largest area under rain-fed agriculture after Rajasthan in India, produces nearly 55% of total food grain production, and 74% of oilseed production come from rain-fed agriculture only in Karnataka. Karnataka has been facing many drought situations since many years. So please next slide. According to a survey conducted by Government of Karnataka State Natural Monitoring Center, to the left we are able to see a map of Karnataka. Yellow dominating most parts of Karnataka indicates the region which are drought hit. This is the reason for a huge increase in loss of life in farmer sector. And on the right side, we're able to see a map of Karnataka in which red dominating the major parts indicate which have been the red part indicates the parts of Karnataka which have been drought hit since 9 to 11 years, and orange indicates regions under drought hit since 7 to 8 years. So please next slide. As many as 135 taluks out of 176 taluks have been declared drought hit. Crop grown during Kharif and Rabi season dried up due to the lack of rain. It's my pleasure to present this paper on National Farmers Day as a token of respect. So please next slide. My main objective was to resolve the main agricultural problem and water retention and water conservation to design a biodegradable superabsorbent which helps in water absorption, soil aeration, helps in soil conditioning. This will be achieved by helping the farmers to grow crops by increasing the water retention capacity of soil in an economical way. So please next slide. The water retained by the soil after it runs through the soil spores is called soil water retention. The amount of water that can be stored by soil and its availability to plant both depend upon the soil type. Often, soil water shortage is the key factor that limits crop production in agricultural development in a given area. To solve this issue, soil water shortage, it is very important to improve the soil infiltration and water retention capacity. Sir, please next slide. According to a research done by Lu Zhang and Xing Chang in the year 2019 in the area of Shaanxi province in China, the addition of feldspathic sandstone for the poor water retention capacity of aeolian sandy soil and modified soil showed increased water retention capacity when compared with the control, that's the normal type of aeolian soil. So please next slide. Agricultural use with the main aim to make water holding properties for growing media. Most of the traditional hydrogen on the market are acrylate based products and hence not biodegradable. Commonly, there are some traditional ways of farming which are used traditionally in by local people. For example, step farming and many such examples, which can be mostly only performed in slopy areas, hence making it impossible to implement in normal plain. Thus, in this study, we are using the novel class of cellulosic based superabsorbent mixture like coconut coir, which is very fibrous material and with a honeycomb design, making it very comfortable and natural way to absorb water. So please next slide. Materials like coconut husk, rice husk having high water retention properties and making it naturally superior absorbent. Locally available sawdust is a very low cost and a high and have experimentally tested absorbent. Charcoal being an effective water heavy metal absorber. Vitiveria zizaniodides, also known as lavancha beru or Madiwala medicinal root, has the ability to retain the maximum amount of water, which is generally we can see in local villages that farmers do have this lavancha beru or Madiwala plant all over the crop, that is just to retain water. So please next slide. 4 samples of different super water absorbents have been taken in boxes, namely coal, lavancha beru, rice husk, coconut husk, cocoa peat, and sawdust. Plant saplings were taken, the root tips were completely covered with the super absorbent, and the samples were mounted upon the collecting box, which will be acting like a filter to collect the excess water. A motor is fitted at the bottom to collect the water again, and which can be reused again. So please next slide. we will be able to see samples upon the collecting box, in which there will be a mesh which should be filled in, which will be filling the excess water will be filled there. Upon putting the water, we are able to observe that the super absorbents which are around the root absorb the required amount of water and kept it available for the plants. Generally, when a plant is planted, when we water the plants, we observe that not the whole amount of water is absorbed by the root. Most of the time, the water seeps into the soil, hence making the plant thrive for nutrition. Here, we also made a sample test by taking Lavancha Beru into a funnel where we had put 50 ml of water for each and every sample which has been taken. And to get the clarity of the amount of water that was retained by the super absorbents and the excess water that's just drifted down. So please, next slide. Different samples taken tests are tested for a week to check the retention value and the daytime retention, and was recorded in the graph. In the next slide, will be showing the amount of water that will be retained by the absorbent that has been tested with cucumber, methi, coriander, and it showed overall plant growth, and tests reveal absence of phototoxicity and increase of moisture by 80% in the field which has been taken. So please, next slide. Here we are able to observe the graph in which the Y value depicts the time in minutes and X depicts the water holding capacity. Mainly, we observe that cocoa peat could retain 3 ml of water for around 110 minutes, whereas rices could retain 4 ml of water for around an hour, and charcoal could maintain 7 ml of water for 90 minutes, whereas sawdust could retain 7 ml of water for 120 minutes, and so on. So please, next slide. Soil condition impacts plant growth and plays a major role in crop yield, and also the water retention capacity, the evaporation rate, and everything. This is a novel approach to retain water by the waste that is generated, either the previous crop or the waste material that is collected directly from the companies, which are generally wasted or thrown or burnt. By this method, farmers can increase the water retention capacity by reusing the waste substance which are produced in an economical way. So please, next slide. These are the references I have referred from a project. So please, next slide. And I had a very good journey of learning the ways in which a farmer can be benefited by science. So please, next slide. I would finally like to conclude by thanking my teachers Shri Purna ma'am, Shalini ma'am, and Brijulal sir for their valuable guidance and suggestions. I would also like to convey my gratitude to our school management and IASC for giving me such an enriching opportunity to learn, and thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Suhas, for that presentation. Now let's take the questions from the judges.
Suhas, you have given a good experiment, and you have ideally told us which has the greatest water retention capacity. So, do you plan to implement this? How do you plan to implement this, and how do you incorporate it into the soil?
Yes, ma'am. If you are like, what scale do you want me to explain it, ma'am?
Yeah, in a large scale is in a 1 acre land.
Okay.
If this is
Ma'am,
what
for example, when we are taking a 1 acre land, there, whatever top layer, there'll be farmers generally before planting the crops, they will be like before the small saplings are put, they'll have to throw and do all the procedures for loosening the soil, no ma'am. During that time, whatever the samples or mixture of the super absorbents which have been taken, they can be mixed, and the top layer it can be put, which are like, so most of the times when a farmer is harvesting his crop, the previous crop will be rice or wheat. The husk, which is, they generally throw or burn the husk in locally available in all villages, ma'am. So just having that waste material, they can put it on the top layer where the saplings will be put in particular at that place, and when they are watering it, the absorbents will hold the water. And if it is like in a greenhouse in such a way of in that area, that time the below they can be having bamboo, or not suggesting any sort of plastic material or toxic material, bamboo or natural waste. If it is in a crop, in local villages, they use chapdi kallu, ma'am. That stone that can be used for sipping the water into a particular position. From there, water can be taken, it can be restored again, and it can be used as for agriculture again, ma'am.
Do you think it can be directly put, or there should be some kind of it should be, for some time it should rest still, and after that some process it can be directly put. I think it can cause some kind of pest.
Ma'am, actually, sorry. Whatever the materials have been taken, they generally take 7 to 8 months for decaying, ma'am, which is a very long period and which is enough time for a crop to get harvested. During this period, it will not get decayed as the material is natural. And in case if it is getting decayed also, when the next crop is taken, there will be the farmers, whatever the lower soil, the soil below the super absorbents will be put up and this will go down and another layer will be coming. So there will be a process, recycle of 3 different layers of soil and old super absorbent and the latest super absorbent, which will be enriching and increasing the soil value, ma'am.
Yes, you should also look into how tulips are cultivated in Switzerland and these places, because they have a very good technique of doing this, because they do it in a tray, because entire kilometers of these tulip farms are.
Yes, ma'am, like a greenhouse where they generally.
Yes, so
Yes, ma'am.
you should also look into that, and you can also incorporate the best practices from there.
Sure,
Thank
ma'am.
you. It is a very good experiment that you have done, and you have done it well. Thank
Thank
you.
you, ma'am.
Yes.
Suhas,
Yes, ma'am.
what are the difference between hydroponic and aeroponic plants?
Ma'am, please, sorry if I'm wrong. Hydroponic plants, they're plants like most of the part of the plant will be like below the soil and it will be having water there. And aeroponic will be most of the plant part will be above the soil layer. Sorry.
Okay. Then, which are the severely droughted affected district in Karnataka?
Ma'am, namely we can take Chikmagaluru. A part of Chikmagaluru is thriving, and even we can take Dharwada. All the northern parts of Karnataka, which were like 2 years back, they were it was having a flood. Since so many years, since around 2009 or 2008, it is facing huge or intense amount of drought, which is leading to epidemic and severe effects on the people also, ma'am.
So next question is define water holding capacity of soil and which type of soil holds more water?
Ma'am, here we are not taking in particular soil, we're taking the super absorbents. And the best super absorbent, sir, please can you go to the slide of the graph? Ma'am, here in the graph, we can observe that charcoal and mainly sawdust is they're having huge, having good amount of water holding capacity, ma'am, for more duration also. And coming to the other question, the water retained by the soil after it runs through the soil pores is called soil water retention, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Suhas, am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
So what would you suggest for like coastal region soils? Like, let's say there are few vegetation on the beaches also.
Yes, ma'am.
So what would your recommendation be there?
Like in particular, for sure, agriculture won't be happening in the shore in particular where water will be running continuously. It will be a bit far away. And those places, it's obvious that the underground water will be more. So whatever already the plants will be having a good supply of water there, and if you're using the super absorbents also, there we can get a good amount of charcoal or even sawdust from the industries, which in which industries burn it or throw them, which can be collected and used there, ma'am. Even if you are using Lavancha Beru, it is a very good natural absorbent which are used by our local farmers in villages where they're having it throughout the crop, just in order to have good amount of water capacity there, underground water, because they hold the water. And also in those regions where Lavancha Beru is mostly observed, we can observe that there we get when they are drilling for borewell water, it will be easily available, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Suhas.
Thank you, ma'am.
Suhas, Saranya here, a very good work. Good to see something, hands-on experiments has been done and some results out of it. So nice effort. Only thing is, and also this is very much relevant to what I read, a book called One Star Evolution by Masanobu Fukuoka. So he also suggests something relevant to this, like on organic farming, and also he mentions about this mulching. How different is the process mulching from this super absorbent application on the fields?
Ma'am,
Do you have
please
any
can
idea
you
about
just
that?
give me a small brief of what is mulching?
Okay, this is also similar to what like intercrop or the crop weeds that are taken out from the field, that is also been put into that, so that the water retention will be more, is what the mulching means. Usually it is even in gardening they do mulching. So like this cocoa peat and all is put. I was wondering if you know about that technique and how different is it from that.
Yes, ma'am. Sure. The main advantage here is that mulching weeds are available. Not all weeds can be used for growth of the plant, whereas rice husk and sawdust or even wheat husk, which are easily available, because if suppose a farmer is having the waste from his previous crop, that can be used for his next crop. There is no need that the weed has to be used here. It can be used for organic farming, like normal compost pit. It can be done there, and that can be converted into manure and used, ma'am.
Okay, and also not all the crops would require water retention for a longer period of time. So it should be crop specific. So there should be much more experiments that has to be done, which is specific to the crop. So how each of this like super absorbents like work on the water retention, and how much of water is retained, and then how is it affected. It should not be like because of this water retention the biodegradation of that plants are happening. And I hope you get my point.
Yes,
Right?
ma'am. Sure. Ma'am, here
Yeah. So pulses need very little amount of water, wherein wheat and rice needs a water logging, requires water logging for a prolonged period of time. So based on that, you have to fine tune your experiments in future if you want to continue along these lines. But for a preliminary kind of a study, this is a very good result that you have got.
Thank you. Here,
Yeah.
basically, when we are doing this or using this method, here you told
Okay.
that the water which is absorbed by the super absorbent, it may affect the roots. As we know, whatever the material has been taken, it is a byproduct of processed plants which have been used, which have been manufactured, basically. So, for example, if you are taking the coconut husk, ma'am, when coconut husk is taken, it is a natural material and it absorbs like not too much of water. It absorbs minimal amount of water, and the plant will be surely needing that amount of water. And moreover, when the farmer is farming, he will not be seeing of this plant. He does see that the how much water is required by the crop, but when he is farming or when he's watering the plants, he'll not be saying like in particular only this much has to be received by the plant. If he'll put how much ever water he wants, or how much he can afford, or how much it is available, and the excess water can be recycled again, which is again it is a profit to him, because whatever is required will be there, rest will come back which he can use. Or else the water just seeps in through the soil and it just goes below, and it is waste, because all farmers cannot afford for huge amount of water, ma'am.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not getting that recycling part. You told something on the chapadical and then it can be retracted. Where are you suggesting that to be retracted, and how it can be stored for a longer period of time and can be reused?
Like when we spoke about a greenhouse, where in such a environment, when farming is done, where most of the nurseries of plants are done, in such areas below they can have half cut bamboo, ma'am. The super absorbent will be there will be a mesh between the bamboo, and the above it will be in a slightly slopey position, where after pouring the water, the super absorbent will absorb the required amount of water, and the excess will be just it will be coming through the bamboo, and it will be collected in one particular place.
Oh, fine. Understood.
If bamboo availability is difficult, they can use chapdi kallu, which is also a very good technique. In case, because we don't suggest any sort of plastic pipes which are not natural, because it may affect the soil, ma'am.
Okay. Understood. Okay. Nice idea, though. So
thank you, ma'am.
My best wishes to your future experimentations on this.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Suhas. Thank you, judges. Now we'll move to the next presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Shri Harshini, are you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, sir. Shall I start?
Yeah, you can.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sriharshini Balachandar of Presidency Bangalore South, and I will be presenting my project on the topic medicinal plants. Next slide, please. Plants synthesize many substances which they store in their various body parts. Ever since the beginning of human civilization, humans have collected these substances to use them as herbal medicines to treat various diseases. Medicinal plants are the plants whose prophylactic and therapeutic properties help cure various diseases. There are nearly 500,000 medicinal plants on the earth, but today we'll be briefly discussing 20 of these plants. Next slide, please. The 20 plants studied have been tabulated in this slide along with their scientific and vernacular names. To study and observe these plants, an herbarium was made, and to understand the current awareness of these plants among people, a survey was conducted. Next slide, please. This slide shows one of the herbariums that was made. The data box in the lower right-hand corner of the herbarium has been zoomed and put up on the right side of the slide. Next slide, please. The first 10 herbariums made are put up in the slide. The main objective of this project was to increase the awareness of these medicinal plants among the public. Next slide, please. This slide displays the herbarium of the next 10 plants from Welsh grape to curry leaves. The plants mentioned here were collected and studied from in and around Bannerghatta Road in Bangalore. We will now be briefly discussing some of the most noticeable properties in these plants. Next slide, please. The first property is antioxidant property. Oxidation is a chemical reaction that can produce free radicals, thereby leading to chain reaction that may damage the cells of the organisms. Antioxidants are the compounds that inhibit this oxidation. Out of the 20 plants, 15 plants show this property. First, let's discuss why plants produce these substances. The ultraviolet light from the sun and the reactive oxygen generated during photosynthesis would cause irreparable damage to the plant tissues. So plants produce antioxidants to protect themselves. These antioxidants mainly involve vitamins and enzymes. Free radical damage causes irreparable harm which manifests itself as aging in humans. Hence, the more you control this damage, the slower you age. Thus, antioxidants are important for a long and healthy life. Next slide, please. The second property is the anti-inflammatory property. Anti-inflammatory is the property of a substance or treatment that reduces inflammation or swelling. Out of the 20 plants, about 14 plants exhibit this property. Inflammation is part of body's immune response. Plants have the ability to synthesize a wide variety of phytochemical compounds as secondary metabolites, which shows this property. The leaves of these plants are usually crushed and applied to the inflamed area to reduce the swelling. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. 4 other properties which are found in these plants include antibacterial, Next slide, please. Coming to the precautions when considering pregnant and breastfeeding women. Pregnant and breastfeeding women undergo hormonal fluctuations and are usually advised to avoid usage of therapeutic plants without proper guidance. In pregnant women, potential effect indiscriminate use of medicinal plants are embryo poisoning, malformations of embryo, and abortifacient effects. This is mainly So,
Yes.
So can you hear me?
In between, it went blank.
So,
Can you hear me?
So can you hear me?
Right now, I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
So
hear you.
will the time be
It is
problem
paused, don't
now?
worry.
Hello?
Please proceed. The time is paused and it will start when you start again.
So shall I continue?
Yeah,
Shall I
continue.
continue?
Please continue. Yeah.
Yes, sir. When it comes to breastfeeding women, it is mainly avoided because there are chances that the herbal effects may pass into the breast milk and cause damage to the infant. Sometimes the consumption of certain plants may inhibit milk production. Out of the 20 plants presented, many are native and thus are used almost on a daily basis and are safe for pregnant and breastfeeding women. Nevertheless, it is better to use these plants under proper guidance. Next slide, please. As mentioned before, the 20 plants presented are almost used on a day-to-day basis and hence are used for a lot for culinary purposes. A majority of these plants are used in herbal drinks and beverages. Coming to the survey analysis, the first graph is the age graph of the people who took the survey. On careful analysis with the help of an Excel sheet, it is safe to say that almost all age groups know and use only about 5 to 10 plants from the given plants. The second graph questions how many of these plants they identify. Out of the 20 plants listed, 10 plants are known by more than 60% of the sample space. From the third graph, we can conclude that majority of the sample space know about these plants from their family. This clearly depicts the rich Indian heritage of medicinal plants. With or without knowing the medicinal properties of these plants, a vast number of the sample space use these plants in the form of food. This again goes to show how the Indian style of cooking has incorporated these plants. Next slide, please. Now, from this graph, we can say that around 70% of the sample space have not used these plants due to the lack of awareness. This clearly depicts the depletion in knowledge transfer as the number of generations grow, which further increases the need to improve this awareness. More than 50% of the sample space use these plants very frequently, and majority of the people are ready to use these plants if the opportunity is given to them. According to the sample space, the best way to spread this awareness is through school programs. Next slide, please. Coming to the need for this awareness, there is a popular misconception that the plant-based remedies are free of adverse reaction. Plants are rich in secondary metabolites like alkaloids, flavonoids, and are potential sources of drugs. Medicinal plants and herbal remedies contain substances that can be toxic to the human body if not utilized properly. The problem is not only about people not knowing about these plants, but it is with people not knowing how to use them in a conventional manner. And thus, it is not only necessary to create an awareness of these plants among people, but also necessary to create awareness on how to use these plants in a proper way. Next slide, please. Can you please play the video? These are the references used for the project. The links have been attached to the report. I would like to thank my school and IISc Bangalore for giving me this opportunity. I would like to thank my teachers, friends, and family who have helped me compile this project successfully. Next slide, please. These plants are not only easy to nurture, but their benefits are endless. As Deb Sol once said, medicinal plants heal more than just the physical body. They help us open our hearts, reconnect us with spirit, and guide us in developing respectful and joyful relationships with the natural world. Thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you for the presentation, Sriharshini. Now let's see if judges have any questions for you.
Yes, sir. So I cannot hear you. Mom, I cannot hear you.
Am I audible to you now?
Yes, mom. Yes, mom.
Yeah. So with all these data, how would you, first thing, how would you conserve these medicinal plants? And if you had to improve the already existing database of medicinal plants, how would you go about doing that?
Mom, I think building the awareness and making more nurseries where they can conserve these plants and grow them on a regular basis is the best way to, and even home terrace gardens and all these small gardens that we can make will help us to conserve these plants. In fact, I'm planning to start a nursery, a small nursery where I'll grow some of these plants so that I can improve the.
And probably you can make a video out of it and then, try sharing it so that other people also can implement it.
Yes, mom. Yes, mom.
And how about the database? Like, have you gone through database of medicinal plants?
Yes, mom. I did go through some of these things, but improving the database again, Google. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, ma'am. Improving the database, I think it's, I'm not sure how to go about it.
Like, did you feel there was any lacuna in the system, like where certain informations were not provided, or you felt difficult searching for certain informations
Ma'am,
that you would
the
suggest?
thing is that none of the sites have complete information. Like they have part by part. So there is no complete information where all the data is accumulated together. There is like every site has one part information. So I had to go through a lot of papers before I could collect the data. So I think it can be improved, the database. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Sriharshini?
Yes, ma'am.
In your study, among all the medicinal plants, which plant can cure fever?
Ma'am, carom plant can, and even the Keelan, ma'am, green chirata, there's a plant, I think it's the 18th plant. I'm not sure about the number, but green chirata is helpful in curing fever. Even carom plant can be used to cure fever.
Okay, so in your slide I saw crepe jasmine. So I wish to know the medicinal use of that crepe jasmine, and also which part of the crepe jasmine is used as a medicine.
Yes. Ma'am, I can't hear you.
In your slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Now I can.
Okay, so I saw crepe jasmine in your slide. So I wish to know the medicinal property of crepe jasmine, and also the part which is used of the part of the crepe jasmine which is used for medicine.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, crepe jasmine is poisonous. You cannot consume it. Crepe jasmine is essentially used as something that can be applied on the skin. The leaves and the stems, the liquid that comes out of it is used to cure eye disorders. And for snake bites, to reduce the effect of the poison, sometimes they apply the leaves on the snake bites before they can, as a first aid, before they can actually treat the snake bite.
Okay, so I also wish to know that you only made this herbarium part.
Yes, ma'am. I made the herbarium from scratch.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sriharshini, nice presentation. I would like to know whether for your own fever, if you are having some ailments, would you take this medicines from the plants as such and then try to heal? Have you ever tried it before?
Yes, ma'am. Like I said about green chirata, my mom usually makes decoctions out of the roots so that it reduces the effect of the fever.
Okay, you have
Even,
tried it and you have seen it working on you.
Yes, ma'am.
Not having allopathy medicines, you have tried just this and then got recovered from fever. Is that so?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It has.
Okay. How
Ma'am,
highly?
because we.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
ma'am?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Ma'am, because like we are using like small amounts of the thing, so we don't have to take so many precautions as we have to when we are using large amounts. So it had no side effects.
Okay, fine. Okay. That's all I have. And also the respondents, I have seen 150 respondents and all. How did you manage to get it from Google Sheets? Is it you asked the respondents to take the survey for you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. I sent the link to my teachers. My biology teacher, Indumati ma'am, helped me spread to all the teachers she knew, and I sent it to my family members, and they in turn shared the link. So I did it that way.
Okay, fine. Good work and good effort. Thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Shri Harshini. Thank you, judges. Now we'll move to the next presentation. Rachna, are you there?
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. You can start when you're ready.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to respected dignity of IAC and good afternoon to one and all. I am Rachna of ACS MMPS of grade 11 and I am here to walk you through Herbalism, the garden science. Next slide, please. What do plants do? Traditional ecological knowledge and medicinal plants diversity, case studies on treatment through herbs, acute lymphoblastic leukemia and diabetes, and survey on kidney diseases. Next slide, please. What do plants do? Think of some plants in your life. Maybe you have a house plant or trees in your yard. Now think of some things plants do for you. Perhaps you think they clean air in your house. Although these nice things they do, plants do a lot more than that. They provide oxygen for us, play a role in carbon cycle, control global warming, and do a whole host of water cycle in providing nutrition and regulating habitats. Apart from that, plants play a critical role in human culture around the whole world. Next slide, please. Traditional ecological knowledge and medicinal plants diversity. Medicinal plants are part of service directly implicated to human well-being. In many rural communities, they constitute a main treatment for diseases. The traditional knowledge of medicinal plants of several species play a specific role for a particular culture and diseases. Therefore, the importance of ranking of medicinal plants species is retained. My study highlights the importance of medicinal plants and its uses that respects different social aspects related to conservation of biodiversity, and a traditional knowledge of ecosystem. Next slide, please. I've gone through a case study of a child of 8 years who was suffering from acute lymphoblastic leukemia, a type of cancer of blood and bone marrow that affects white blood cells. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia is the most common childhood cancer. It occurs when a bone marrow cell develops error in its DNA. Symptoms are enlarged lymph node, bruising, fever, bone pain, bleeding gums, and frequent infection and affecting other organ systems in the body. Here are a few important herbs used in this case. Navjeevan Ras. The Ras balances Vata and Kapha with herbal formulation and mineral ingredients. It is given in the form of tablets and contains Kuchala, Loha, Basma, Shunti, Maricha, and Pipali. Next slide, please. Plants are highly valuable to humanity, and the tremendous benefits they offer are certainly unfathomable. Based on numerous amazing benefits of plants, we have Cantharanthus roseus. The cancer-fighting effects of this plant are attributed to the presence of phytochemical vincristine and vinblastin found in it. Next slide, please. Urigina indica. The presence of siliglycosides in the bulb is used to take care cancer as well as kidney disorder. Potent heart stimulant. The bulb consists of cardiac glycosides which help to stimulate the heart and produce negative and positive chronotropic effects on the heart. Next slide, please. Gugula comifera mucul. Google is praised for its anti-inflammatory properties. It reduces fever and secretions from diseased surfaces. Phytochemical is gallic acid and the main part used is the gum of the plant. Next slide, please. Rodra Ras. These are the herbs used for preparing the ras. Nagavali herb. It relieves bad breath. Phytochemical saponins. Punarnava herb. Helps in formation of blood. Phytochemical punarnavin. Meganand herb. Treats fever, skin rashes, reduces pain and swelling. Phytochemical kajanan. Next slide, please. Vriduhari chun. Amalaki is also known as Indian gooseberry, a rich source of vitamin C, immunity, and anti-aging benefits. Phytochemical tannins. Pipali, also known as long pepper fruit, it is used in digestive disorder and in curing respiratory ailments. Phytochemical are saponin. Haritaki removes acne and ulcer, prevents cough and cold, and boosts immunity. Phytochemical tannins. Shunti or ginger improves metabolism, perfect aid for common cold as well. Phytochemical gingeriols. Next slide, please. Here in the report, you can see the abnormal cells is reduced, nucleus is present, and normal maturation is observed after 1 month of medication. Next slide, please. I have gone through a case study of a diabetic patient, and here are a few herbal formulations used. Tulsi leaves have hyperglycemic properties which lower blood sugar levels and helps prevent complication of diabetes. Phytochemical olenolic acid, Bilva patra. It regulates the production of insulin from the cells into the bloodstream, and low glycemic index. Phytochemical flavonoids. Neem is a beautiful combination of compounds of glycosides that can help repress the surge of glucose by preventing the unhealthy rise in its levels. Phytochemical tannins. Next slide, please. Giloy helps in the production of insulin. It burns excess glucose, which further helps in reducing blood sugar levels. Phytochemical giloin. Curry leaves. The rich source of fiber, which is responsible for slowing down the digestion and does not metabolize quickly. Phytochemical elimol. Next slide, please. Here are the reports of the diabetic patient treated through above-mentioned herbal formulation, where the initial reports fasting blood sugar and postprandial blood sugar are higher than the normal range. After 6 months of using herbal formulation, the report shows the blood sugar level within the ranges in the recent report. Next slide, please. As India is the second capital of diabetes, this graphical representation shows that cured and controlled many diabetic patients across India. In the first graph, the blue line indicates the blood glucose level tested fasting for 6 months. Orange line indicates the declining of blood glucose level tested postprandial. Next slide, please. To my curiosity, I have done a survey on kidney diseases. Here are the few herbs in treating kidney ailments. Lotus leaves helps in reducing kidney inflammation and in preventing kidney damage. Phytochemical terpenoids. Patharchur. The leaves help in the reduction of creatinine. Phytochemical terpenes. Next slide, please. Here are the report which shows the cure of kidney patients suffering from high creatinine and kidney disease. Here are the reports from the center known as Karma Ayurveda. Next slide, please. This is the graph from March 2017 till present date, but in the year 2020, the cured patients are less due to the ongoing pandemic. Next slide, please. I would like to conclude that from this project, I learned about the importance of medicinal plants and its uses in treating diseases. I started growing herbal plants in my house and also recommended my neighborhood to grow herbal plants in their garden. In my view, I would request the government to introduce the basic knowledge of herbal plants in school curriculum to encourage and develop more herbal gardens, to allocate sufficient funds to the same. I hope this will bring required stimulus to make our future generations healthy and disease-free. Next slide, please. Oral consultation with Ayurvedic doctor or a consultation with the senior citizen having diabetes treated with herbal formulation. Medicinal leads are collected from these websites. Next slide, please. I would like to express my special thanks of gratitude to IISc Bangalore, who gave me the golden opportunity to do this wonderful project. I would also like to extend my gratitude to Virgilal sir for guiding me, the director Seema Goyal ma'am, Gayatri ma'am, and our teachers for their endless support and guidance in completing my project. Next slide, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachana, for that presentation. Let's see if judges have any questions.
Rachna, thank you for the presentation. It is very good to see that you have acquired some knowledge on this herbal plants and their uses. So you, in one of your slides, you have shown for terminal illness like leukemia, some cancer you have told, and then there is a medication for it in Ayurveda. So if a close relative of yours is suffering from a terminal illness like cancer, how sure are you in referring such herbal medicines to them?
Ma'am, due to the phytochemical present in them and the benefits what herbal plant have, those are helpful in treating all these complicated diseases. Since these plants have powerful phytochemicals, this will help in curing and repressing and coming down the diseases, ma'am.
I know, but we all like get it by word of mouth that this got cured and that got cured. The major problem where the implementation part we are lagging, though we have a plethora of Ayurvedic medicines and we are known for it, but yet if any, but we when you go for complete Ayurveda, it is not sure that how 100% it is going to be effective. And if you are taking many doctors prescribe with allopathy medicines, you take this Ayurvedic tablets also. So there is always a disclaimer that comes, and then people are reluctant to completely believe this Ayurvedic way of treatment. So I am sure that you would also have come across this same scenario in your like connections as well. So what do you suggest that, like the way forward?
Ma'am, since the treatment is always based on individual entity, based on the naturality of the body, of the human body, since these plants are beneficial and can be helpful in based on individual entity, um, it, on herbal medicines, it is based on individual entity. So this can help in curing certain diseases itself.
Okay.
That is what I've researched till now. When I spoke with the doctor and interviewed with the people who are taking herbal plants, and they have also said that based on herbal plants and what do you say that those medicines what they take, these will help them in curing any type of diseases based on the naturality of the body. And this is what I've got information, ma'am, and it depends on individual capability as well.
Because yeah, I understand that, but this is very intricate thing to even discuss about. Like you know that Ayurvedic plants are better heavy metal accumulators, and also you should be knowing the source of the plants as well. So and also it has many different chemicals. We don't know what concentrations are they are present at each of these plants, and what is the concentration that has to be taken. So like allopathic medicine, there is no specific prescription on the concentration of each of this, and then how it goes and affect, and then what are the side effects. It is not clear as such. So that is where we are lagging in getting it publicized. And people from India also are not ready. If a terminal illness is there, they cannot completely rely on, they are very much reluctant to rely on completely on Ayurveda. That is what I have understood. I think you also concur with me on those lines. So,
yes, ma'am, I do agree.
Yeah, there is a lot more to go, and like you said, the government has to take initiative, and then we have to be more scientifically proven. Like you have given some initial and after report. If not for the survey of the required patients, it is very difficult. So data is what is required. Okay, but anyways, good effort. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Rachana, am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, so you know Ministry of Ayush, no? So if you
Yes,
were
ma'am.
to give a recommendation to them based on this kind of medicine, importance of these herbalism, the garden science, what would it be? Another thing is that as an individual, at a grassroots level, what's like, would you suggest some kind of a program or anything that can, promote what you have carried out now, like the study that you have carried out?
Yes, ma'am. Sure, I would like to do some program on this also as well. Since people lack in the knowledge of herbalism, since they think that herbal plants are, they don't know the knowledge of herbal plants, they randomly grow. Since my neighbor grew some random medicinal plants with they didn't even know that it was a herbal plant. But when I told it was a herbal plant, they started growing more herbal plants. This is how we can expand the medicinal knowledge. So I think that we should make a specific survey and particularly on this, so that they can understand the uses and benefits of this medicinal plants. So this will help in expanding the medicinal uses of plants, which will also reduce fund uses as well. And I think this program will also bring the correct usage of herbal plants. And I think we can have public program regarding herbal plants. This can bring very good major changes in our lifestyle as well.
Thank you, Rachna.
Okay, Rachna.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear
Yes,
me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I have heard that many people say that Ayurvedic medicine takes long time to get recovery. So people always prefer allopathic medicine because they tell that it has a faster recovery rate. So what is your opinion about it?
Yes, ma'am. It is a saying that, but ma'am, since these plants are a slow process, they will clean the body first, and then they will start working on the disease, on the main disease. So that will take a longer time in curing any type of diseases, even though it is very complicated. But
Okay,
there are
so
less side effects found
okay,
compared to allopathy.
okay. So what is the importance of neem as a medicinal plant?
Ma'am, can you please repeat the question?
Importance of neem as a medicinal plant. Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, can you hear me? Ma'am?
Yeah,
Hello?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
hear you.
Ma'am, neem is actually a beautiful combination of, glycosides that can help in sugar patients. It helps in, we can also consume, even normal people, it can help in purifying our blood. And neem is also used in every people. Yes, ma'am. I think these leaves have chicken pox. It also helps in chicken pox also, as per my information.
Okay. So what you just told that neem can delay the blood coagulation process. Can you just tell how it does?
Ma'am, I'm not really sure
Okay. Okay
about the
then.
processes.
Okay, okay.
Are there any more questions, judges? Okay, it looks like there are no questions. Thank you, Rachna, for the presentation. Thank you, judges. We'll move on to the next presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Apeksha, are you there? Apeksha? Apeksha? Okay, Jayatirtha, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You can start your presentation now.
A very good evening to one and all present here. I've got a great opportunity to present my project in this lake conference. So, I'm Jaitirtha from class 11 studying in Jnanadhara College. I live in Anandavana. So, my topic is about spider diversity of Anandavana. Next slide. Anandavana has one of the highest potential to be explored for biodiversity as it's located in the outskirts of the city. We have a great biodiversity over here. It's a forest region over here. So, about the diversity of spiders in Anandavana is my topic. There are diverse variety of spiders lying in different habitats. Especially why I chose this project is that spiders are really attractive and spiders are really rare. I mean that this topic is chosen very rarely from other people. They are also abundant over here. Next. As you can see, Anandavana is located in the outskirts of city. What I mean by telling this is that Anandavana has no places such as traffic, air pollution, water pollution, etc. It's located in Ramnagara district, Magdi Taluk, and it's close to foothills of Savarnaka. The total land area is 5 acres. Next one. These are the land uses of Anandavana. The land marked with number 1 is the agricultural land, the one with 2 is water bodies, then the medicinal garden, and then the human settlements, and then the one marked with number 5 is the forest region, Soundriga Hills, and the land which is not marked is just a plain ground. We can tell it as a playground. Next one. This is the Savandurga Hill, which is the largest monolith hills in India. Anandavana campus is very close to this. It's a 5 acres land. And here we can see that the building is not even painted in order to keep it natural and comfortable for the nature. Next. What are the main objects of my project is that to document and assess the spider diversity in our campus and mainly to understand the habitat of spiders. Next one. These are the materials and methods. Especially, I choose the all-out search method. There are several methods such as transect method, quadrant method, line transect, etc. But I especially choose this method as I could search for spiders from all the in the whole campus. For example, if I would choose quadrant method, I would search for spiders just in a particular land. And the other materials I used electronic devices such as laptops and mobiles. And most important one, I used the book Backyard Spiders. I referred it for the naming of spiders. Next one. So finally, I could find 20 species of spiders. All these belong to 9 families. Next one. These are the lists of spiders and they are classified accordingly to their families. Spiders are the organisms which belong to the kingdom Animalia and they are belonging to the phylum Arthropoda. As we can see, there are some spiders which are dominant and others are not so much found. Next one. This is a broad result where the pie chart is made. As we can see, Tetragnathidae, Aranidae, Sphassinidae, Salticidae, these are the dominant families. What I mean is that their population is more comparatively to others. Next one. As I had shown the map which was divided into different landmarks, we can see that in the agricultural land there are less number of spiders found. As in the agricultural land, this may be for this reason itself. In the agricultural land, there are like drastic movement of human beings. So the number of spiders over there would be less. Even if there are insecticides poured over there, so spiders would be less over there. Near the water bodies, we can find mosquitoes, etc. So insects are the major food sources for spiders. So spiders can also be found near water bodies. And in the medicinal garden, there are no drastic movements such as in agricultural land, but human movements is less itself. So spiders are also found over there. And sometimes spiders majorly come inside the human settlements. So in our building, there is no kind of a paint, etc. Like the wall looks like a rock surface itself. So there are major spiders found over here itself. And in the forest region, as it's too large, there were no spiders found. Like it was too difficult to find spiders over there. Next one. These are some captures of the spiders. This is a link spider. Next one. These are jumping spiders which you could find in the human settlements. Like we found it in the building. The first one is two-striped jumping spider, and the one in the center is pan-typical jumping spider. The one on the right is white spot jumping spider. Next one. This one is a nocturnal spider, which is actually a rare one. We could find this one also in the building itself. Next one, ma'am. Next slide, ma'am. This is the wool spider. Uh, um, Wool spiders are very similar to nursery web spiders. We also have a clique of nursery web spiders. So, wool spiders are actually very different. They are not like other spiders. They do not spin webs and all. So they are like carnivores, like how tigers and lions hunt for their prey. Even the wool spiders pounce on their prey like the wolves that inspire their name. Next one. These are huntsman spiders. They are actually known for the speed and the mode of hunting. They're really attractive in their mode. They're really aggressive while hunting. Next one. This one is a pear-shaped leafcage, which is actually a rare spider. We could find these kind of spiders in the forest region itself. Next one. This one is the nursery web spider. As I said, this is also very similar to wolf spider. What's special about this spider is that uh, this spider builds a tent. Like the female spider builds a tent and it places her egg sac inside the tent and then it stands guarding outside the tent. So finally, uh, this spider is really attractive as it does these kinds of work. Next one. These are two-tailed bark spiders. They are really very dominant over here. I mean, they are highly populated. They can be found even on the rock surfaces and also on the building walls. And the spiders actually wait for the prey on the wall. They stand on the wall and it runs around its prey whenever it finds a prey. Next one.
Jayatirtha, you'll have to conclude the presentation soon.
This one is a green trap spider. It's very attractive as it uses camouflage. Next one now. So what I conclude is that link spiders are extremely abundant. Daddy longlegs are actually highly populated even in city sites. It's not special to be found over here too. All the other spiders are actually dominant and very exciting in this building. Next one. This is the checklist where I've mentioned the scientific name, family, and habitats. Next one. So, see, finally, I would like to thank Purna Pramati Anandavana for encouraging me to participate in this lake conference. And I would have to thank Lake Conference as they provided a great opportunity and allowing me to participate in this conference. Rujulal sir has given me 100% support, and he's very close to us as we call him Manna and all. And I would actually thank all my friends, especially Rashmi and Sana, that have helped me to complete this project. Next one. These are the references. Mainly I referred teachers itself. Next one. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Jayatirtha, for that presentation. Let's see if the judges have any questions.
Jayatirtha,
Yes, ma'am.
are these spiders associated with any other species, like in mutualistic relationship, where they both the species are getting benefited?
Not often. Most probably.
You're not come across?
No, I've not come across it.
Okay, are there spiders which camouflage to?
Yes, ma'am.
Why do they do that? What is their main function in order to camouflage?
Like it's their own kind of mode of hunting. They hide inside the bushes or green grasses where they are not.
No, is it like a defense mechanism or like a mating thing or for like to attack?
Yeah, it's like an offense mechanism to attack.
Okay, thank you.
Jayatirtha,
Yes, ma'am.
what are the threats faced by spiders and how to protect spiders?
There are nothing like threats to spiders. Actually, here, when we build some kind of buildings, they are actually little disturbed. But as I found, they are not much disturbed. They are also comfortable even here. But if we paint the building, then it's a problem. Then it becomes like a city itself. Here, the building is made up of the sand itself. Like the bricks are made up of the sand, which is here itself.
Okay, so which are the smallest and largest spider that you found in your study area?
Smallest was a link spider itself, and the largest which I found was giant wood spider.
And which was the most dominant species or very common species that you found?
Daddy long legs, but it's also common even in cities. Special over
Okay.
here itself is that link spiders.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Jaitika?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, good presentation, a nice compilation of your data. So one question I have is, what unique feature that you have come across regarding spiders, which you were not aware before starting this project? Just any unique feature that you got to know only after starting this project. Before that you were not aware of it.
I never knew that even spiders use camouflage.
Okay, that is one feature you understood after starting this project, is it?
Yes, ma'am, and also they get adjusted. I mean, they move on to other habitats. They are not.
Okay. Seems like you have poor network connectivity. Your voice is breaking.
No.
There was a pause. I couldn't hear anything from you. The voice was breaking. But anyways, good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions, judges? Okay, looks like there are no questions. Thank you.
Me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, Apeksha here. There was an unexpected power cut. I couldn't respond actually.
Okay, it's okay. You will be next.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Jaitirtha. Thank you, judges, for the questions. We'll move on to the next presentation.
Thanks a lot.
Apeksha, you can start whenever you're ready.
Yes, ma'am. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Good evening to everyone. Myself, Apeksha of 2nd PUC, PCMB from Vidyaniketan PU College. Today, I'm going to talk about the topic Science in Sanskrit Scriptures. Next slide, please. In my work, I have tried to combine modern science with our scriptures because the amount of science we can find in Sanskrit in the form of verses are so abundant. If we decode these verses and descriptions, we'll be able to find the proof for all. I would like to assert Sanskrit is not merely a language of religious scriptures. It has been a language of branches of knowledge. Next slide, please. The motive of my presentation is as follows. To get back the credit which was very much due for our scholars, to erase the wrong conception towards the Sanskrit language, to induce the present youth to go back to their roots, and to ignite pride among everyone about our rich history and great work of our ancient sages. Now, let me start my presentation with our nearest star, the sun. Next slide, please. All information regarding the sun can be found in Hanuman Chalisa and Aditya Hridayam. To support my claim, I would like to narrate this shloka. Yuga Sahasra Yojana Parabhano Lilyo Tahi Madura Falajano. The 18th verse of Sri Tulasidas Hanuman Chalisa clearly explains the exact distance between the sun and the earth. Let's decode the shloka. One yuga means 12,000 years. Sahasra means 1,000. 1 yojana is 8 miles and 1 mile is equal to 1.6 kilometers. Now, if we multiply all these, that is 12,000 into 1,000 into 8 into 1.6, we approximately get 153 million kilometer, which is equal to the aphelion distance calculated by Huygens. Now, I will switch over to Sun's family, that is the solar system. Next slide, please. The solar system is well displayed in the Navagraha idols, which is very much similar to the present day theory. Not only this, even the accurate time calculation of solar and lunar eclipse is also explained by our great mathematician and astronomer Varahamihira. Next slide, please. Apart from this, he has estimated the diameters of Mercury, Venus, Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter. You will be surprised to know this. He was aware of the presence of water and iron on the surface of Mars, which has now been accepted and revealed by great institutions like NASA and ISRO. Now, let me talk about the nature of sun. Next slide, please. In Aditya Rudayam, it is very clearly narrated about the sun with the help of these words, Aditya, Agni Garbha, and many more. In Aditya Rudayam, you can notice they have given the information regarding the 4 direction and 7 color of lights. 7 colors of light. If we decode these, the 7 horses are the 7 colors of white light, and the 4 directions, east, west, north, and south, are Indra, Varuna, Kubera, and Yama. Now, let's see what has been told regarding the Mother Earth. Next slide, please. Our saints and sages were very sure about the shape of Earth, that it was spherical. Probably that could be the reason why the study of Earth is termed as Bhugol. The concept of Varaha avatar supports my claim. Well, I spoke about the solar system, the sun, the earth. Now, how can I forget about the evolution theory? Next slide, please. I strongly believe Dashavatara itself is the evolution theory as it explains the evolution of life from unicellular to multicellular. Now, let me tell you how the profound knowledge of saints and sages were passed on to next generation. Next slide, please. Yes, it was because of the Gurukula system. In Vedic period, education system was focusing more on the inner engineering of the students. They were taught about the art of living life. Mere possessing the certificate would never term them as educated. Instead, their overall behavioral growth was considered. Now, how about relating medical science with our scriptures? Next slide, please. Sushruta Samhita gives detailed information regarding all the surgeries, including rhinoplasty, heart surgery, and many more. The usage of Samohini, an anesthetic plant, and Sanjeevini, the herb used to bring back senses, was known to Sushruta long ago. Next slide, please. Here, I can give a lot of examples about the invention which has been already done ages ago, which are almost equal to the so-called advancement of today's medical science. Mahabharata is the first written document in the world to theorize the concept of cloning, test tube babies, and surrogate mothers. Next slide, please. Have you ever thought, has anything been told regarding the nature and its conservation in Sanskrit? Yes, of course. This shloka beautifully explains the relationship between the nature and animals and the meaning of yajna too. Yajna is the act of selflessness which is performed in the interest of others. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyat anna sambhavaha yajnat bhavati parjanyo yajnaha karma samudbhavaha. By narrating this shloka, we can understand the mutual dependence of nature and animals, and it also tells us about our responsibilities. Prakrutehe kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Every work is governed by the grace of nature. Well, it is understood by all of us during this pandemic, right? Now, after giving information about all these things, if I don't touch the biogeographical details narrated in our scriptures, it would not be a fair deal. Next slide, please. So, I thought of telling something about Kalidasa's Meghaduta, where he clearly explains and gives every minute detail of the view of Earth from space. In the book Gagana Gochara Vasundhara by Ahoratra Natesh, a detailed study of Meghaduta has been given. Next slide, please. The things I have narrated and related with modern science may look simple, but to know and understand these things thousands of years ago without any equipment is beyond imagination. These are all less known facts but proved ones. So I felt it is my duty to make it reach many people through this opportunity. Science in Sanskrit scriptures is a vast topic. Explaining each and every achievement would take a lot of time. So I have precised my work through 8 minutes. Next slide, please. I thank our principal and management for giving me this opportunity to participate in this great event. I also thank IISc for creating such a wonderful platform which actually unfolded different spectrum of our rich history and sanctity of Sanskrit language in our daily life. I sincerely thank Krishnamurthy sir and Shripurna ma'am for guiding me. Last but not the least, I thank my mom who was the guiding force behind this channelization of this collected information. Next slide, please. I refer the following sites to strengthen my claim. Next slide. Thank you all for patiently listening to my presentation.
Thank you, Apeksha, for the presentation. Let's see if the judges have any questions.
Apeksha, thank you so much for that insightful presentation. It was an eye delight, and then the way you explained or narrated the information, the flow was very nice, and then the fluency in reading the slokas, it was amazing. So I have no questions as such, but I can see the real trust for spreading the knowledge that you have already told also. So it's nice to see someone relating our culture and then rich heritage to the science, and then come up with some insightful presentation like this. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, ma'am. Means a lot.
Yeah.
Apeksha, am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I think I had asked this question last time also. So the science that you spoke about in the scriptures, are there any technology that are being utilized now in current world?
Ma'am, I don't know much about this, but I have heard that for computers, ma'am, they understand Sanskrit better than English. That I have read it somewhere.
Okay, how about modern medicines?
Medicinal plants are being used in Ayurveda. Yeah, I guess that is written in our scriptures long ago.
And how about modern medicinal techniques?
I'm in Sushruta Samhita, I have told it. He has written about all surgeries which are being conducted now. He has given a very detailed description about this, ma'am.
What is that technique that even modern medicine uses?
Ma'am, I have not done much research about this, but I guess anesthesia is the same technique which is used even now, I guess.
Okay, thank you, Apeksha.
Are there any more questions, judges? Okay, looks like there are no questions. Thank you, Apeksha, for the presentation. Thank you, judges.
Thank you, judges.
Let's move on to the next presentation. Prithvi Shenoy, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Just a minute.
Okay. Prithvi, you can start whenever you are ready.
Yes, ma'am. I'll start in just a minute.
Sorry, your voice is not audible.
Yeah, that's the reason. I'll start in 1 minute.
Okay, okay.
Ma'am, am I audible now?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Greetings to everybody. I am Prithvi Shenoy of Grade 12, Vidyaniketan Public School. Titled Pakshikuta, this is a presentation on bird diversity and bioindication at Ullal Lake. Next slide. Bioindicators are living organisms which are used to screen the status of the natural ecosystem. Over time, good indicators of the general environmental conditions are attributed to birds because they are present at various trophic levels and thus depend on a variety of flora and fauna. They are easily observed and identified just by morphological features. No expensive equipments are used in the process. Besides, they have been studied from centuries, and changes in their behavior can help us determine the variations in the ecosystem. Next slide. So let's look at what the birds are telling us. There are studies which focus on monitoring the health of ecosystems like this one in Florida. I've attempted to collate bird data and understand their bioindication at a lake in Bangalore. Next slide. If there's magic on the planet, it's definitely contained in water. Lakes have traditionally been used for irrigation, domestic uses, cater to numerous ecological services, maintaining the microclimate, replenishing groundwater. But ironically, 90% of the lakes are polluted, and almost 98% lakes encroached in Bangalore as in the pie charts. So 22 lakes were identified for rejuvenation as in the map here. I have selected the Ullal Lake as this study area, which is not a part of this list, but belongs to the Vrishabhavati Valley. Next slide. The objectives were to collate data on bird diversity, understand their feeding habits, recognize IUCN Red List status, categorize them as resident, migratory, and importantly, assess their bioindicatorship. Next slide. I must mention that the whole learning journey has been amazing with data on the phone and organizing the list of birds based on various categories in Excel sheets. From obtaining the list of the observed birds from the website to creating a master list by finding their IUCN Red List status, studying the feeding habits of each bird, there was an attempt to collect the year-wise data for 5 years, 2016 to 20, but due to the unavailability of 2018 data completely, a comprehensive list of birds has been considered. Next slide. Ullal Lake, which is located in Bangalore near Jnanaganga Nagar. This is the Ullal Lake. Next slide. Under the jurisdiction of BDA, it covers an area of about 11 hectares. The coordinates and other details have been mentioned here. Next slide. In 2019, BDA spent 4.5 crores to develop this but abandoned it later. So here we see the images of the lake over the 5 years procured from Google Earth and Bhuvan. On a closer observation, we see that the area has decreased by 1 hectare and there's growing concern with the question of where are we heading to. Next slide. This is a glimpse of the recent visit to the lake on the 28th of October. I saw that the walking track was dominated by Parthenium and the macrophyte growth was very evident. Next slide. Coming to the results. Ullal Lake, located southwest of Bangalore as marked in the map. A total of 101 birds belonging to 45 different families, next slide, have been sighted over the 5 years. And let's look at these results in detail. Next. Let's see what the birds are telling us. 101 species are observed at the lake out of 364, which is about 28% species of all the birds recorded in Bangalore so far. Though the feeding habits indicate the presence of adequate food, the main question is in relation to the 3 near threatened species. And here's the alert. If one species in the food web ceases to exist, one or more members in the rest of the chain will have negative impacts. Next slide. And moreover, as we see here, 22% of migratory birds are sustained by the lake. Where do they find homes in winter if the lake doesn't support them? Next slide. So, indicators can thus summarize the biodiversity and threats. Organisms used as bioindicators generally focus on a specific unit, while birds give an image of the whole ecosystem, like this study in France. Similarly, next slide. On analyzing the feeding habits in Ullal Lake, insectivores are found to be the highest, followed by omnivores and carnivores, which explains the insect diversity, fruiting flora, along with the distinct fauna. It is notable that we have a small group of piscivores at the lake since we don't find many fishes. And when checked with the water quality from a case study on the ecological assessment of Ullal Lake, Various parameters were actually found to be higher than the permissible limits in accordance to the observation of this study. Next slide. The painted stock, oriental darter, black-headed ibis, all being water birds, are close to qualify as a near-threatened category in the near future. Next slide. Ardidae or next slide again. Next slide. Ardidae or the heron family has the highest number of species and feed on a wide variety of organisms. We generally find ducks, pelicans, cormorants at water bodies which are not dominant here, and this implies the poor quality of water. Additionally, macrophytes devoid the aquatic organisms of vital sunlight and oxygen, challenges their survival. And it's time to think green. Next slide. It's a journey from eco-apartheid to earth democracy. We are made of the Panchamahabhutas, earth, water, fire, and space that constitute the universe. And when these aren't in balance, we must remember it's a direct threat to humans. Next slide. As we saw, birds do more than just sit in a tree and sing. They give us a heads up when the environment is changing. Also an opportunity to find solutions to environmental problems before humans get affected. So the next time you're on your walk to school, let's take a moment to appreciate and listen to the birds chirping. Looking at the study area Ulla Lake, majorly from the feeding habits and families, we can clearly understand that the water quality is unacceptable. Lack of open water signals for immediate caution. Urgent measures have to be taken for conserving the near-threatened birds. And further, next slide. This is the master list of birds that I mentioned before. Next slide, next slide. Tabulated after finding the family, scientific name, IUCN Red List status, etc. I'd like to go through if the judges want to take a close look. Next slide. Extending my gratitude to our principal, teachers, my parents and friends for the unstinted support. Special thanks to Dr. T.V. Ramachandra sir for the opportunity to participate and Rijulal sir for the guidance. Next slide. References used have been enlisted in the 2 slides here. And finally, from Pakshikuta to Jivakuta, taking a step towards Jiva Samrakshana. Thank you. Next slide. 2 more slides with that. Yeah.
Thank you, Prithvi, for the presentation. Let's see if the judges have any questions.
Yes.
Prithvi, am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so if you were to increase the bird population at Ulla Lake and conserve their species, what recommendation would you give?
Okay, I'd like to look at this in 2 aspects, as an individual and as a community. So as an individual, each of us can do different things. Like there have been appeals that were being created for bird watching, walkathon, jogathon, which attracts more people. If there is more attention being given to the lake, then it might reach like a higher platform where more measures could be taken. And the steps that could be taken is stop the over fertilization that's happening there because of the coconut grove that is located in the northern part of the lake, and desilting can obviously help controlling the invasive species, majorly different species of macrophytes, and maybe setting up a sewage treatment plant will improve the water quality because the whole system is being affected majorly by the water quality. The rejuvenation in 2009 that I mentioned, since then the water level has never reached the full level like as it was before. Even after the rains, like the visit in 28 October, it was just after major like heavy rains hit Bangalore, but the lake was not full. And yeah, as a community that I mentioned, all of us can look at different things. There are lake festivals being there, like Kere Habba, which we tell. There was a recent one in 2020, February 2020, of the Kaikondhalli Lake. There was also a Belandur Lake Festival. And yeah, different lake festivals have been happening. And the next option that I would tell for the lake is PPP model, which could be a public-private partnership model. And if the lake is in better condition, obviously the birds visiting would be more.
Very good answer. Thank you, Prithvi.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Which are the birds under near threatened category?
The three of them, oriented, the painted stock, oriental darter, and one more is which was that?
So another
Ma'am,
question is,
am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, black-headed ibis, the three. Painted stocks, oriental
can
darter,
you
and
give
black-headed ibis.
examples? Can you give examples for nectarivorous birds?
Yes, ma'am. Nectarivorous birds, we have the starlings, which are nectarivores. There are three kinds of starlings.
So which are they?
We have the purple sunbird also, apart from the starlings, and with the starlings, purple sunbird, ma'am.
Okay.
Are there any more questions, judges? Okay, looks like there are no more questions. We'll move to the presentation. Thank you, Prithvi. Thank you, judges, for the questions.
Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Maitri Arya, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
You can start whenever you're ready.
Yes. Good evening to one and all present here. Today, Maitri, Sahan and myself, Rashmi, we would like to present you all about the comparative study of birds at 3 selected lakes of Bangalore. Next slide. Next slide. So we selected 3 lakes, that is Hoskerelli, Lalbagh and Yedur, which were surrounded with 3 different environments. So the Hoskerelli was semi-urbanized, the Yedur was urbanized, and the Lalbagh was covered with green cover. Hoskerelli Lake, it is located at the edge of Baswangudi. It's about 59.25 acres. It was built by Kempegowda in late 16th century. It was served for drinking, irrigation, and many other purposes until late 1940s. So people take dogs for walking and people also come for bird watching. And at present, it's under rejuvenation. Next slide. Lalbagh Lake. It is located in Mavalli in Bangalore. It's about 25 acres. The botanical garden was established in year 1760 by Hyder Ali. So the lake was the main reason why he set up a park around. It is a spot of splendid beauty located at the heart of city of Bangalore. It is prime attraction for nature lovers as well as tourists. So activities which takes place are jogging and bird watching. Next slide. Yedur Lake. It is located at the south zone of Bangalore. It's about 10.76 acres. The lake exists from the days of Hoysala kings. It's about 1,400 years old. It is believed to be one of the oldest lakes in Bangalore city. So the activities which takes place are boating, jogging and bird watching. Next slide.
Objectives. Our main objective was to assist a diversity of birds, to understand which lake provides wide range of bird diversity, to understand if the birds are migratory or resident, and also to study the IUCN status. Next slide. Material and methods. We used binoculars and DSLR camera, and we also used field guides and electronic devices. We visited the lake once for a span of 3 hours. Random sampling and visual identification method was followed. Next slide. results. In this, the first one is family. Next slide. Hoscarelli Lake. Here we found RDA to be the highest number of family, while the ones which are marked in orange were found to be the least. Next slide. Lal Bagh Lake. Here once again we found RDA to be the highest family. Next slide. Yedur Lake. Here RDA was again found to be the highest. Next slide. IUCN status. It stands for International Union for Conservation of Nature. Here we found least concerned birds to be 86 in Hoscarelli Lake, 117 in Lal Bagh Lake, and 66 in Yedur Lake. Near threatened birds were found to be 1 in Hoscarelli Lake, 5 in Lal Bagh Lake, and 3 in Yedur Lake. Vulnerable bird was found to be 1 in Lal Bagh Lake. Type, if the bird was migratory or resident. Here we found 65 resident birds in Hoscarelli Lake, 93 in Lal Bagh Lake, and 59 in Yedur Lake. We found 23 migratory birds in Hoscarelli Lake, 33 in Lal Bagh Lake, and 11 in Yedur Lake. Next slide. Diet. Here, insectivore birds were found to be highest in Hoscarelli Lake and Lal Bagh Lake, while insectivore and omnivore birds were found to be highest in Yedur Lake. Granivore birds was found to be least in all the 3 lakes. We've included birds of prey in carnivore itself. And number of common species of bird found in all the 3 lakes were 50 in number. Next slide. Number of bird species which can be spotted are 92 in Hoscarelli Lake, 124 in Lal Bagh Lake, and 72 in Yedur Lake. Number of bird species we spotted during our primary survey were 20 in Hoscarelli Lake, 17 in Lal Bagh Lake, and 22 in Yedur Lake. Next slide.
So this is the family pie chart. In Hoscarelli Lake and all the 3 lakes we found RDA to be the highest. Next slide. Diet pie chart. So in insectivore, Hoscarelli Lake we found insectivore to be highest and granivore to be the least. In Lal Bagh Lake also we found insectivore to be the highest and granivore to be the least. But in Yedur Lake we found both omnivore and insectivore to be in the same ratio. Next slide. Migratory status. So we found that all the 3 lakes had migratory birds. The highest was 26.2%, which was in Lal Bagh Lake. Next slide. These are the birds which were vulnerable and nearly threatened, which can be found in the 3 lakes. This is the Indian spotted eagle, which was the one and only this bird species was found vulnerable in Lal Bagh. The others are the nearly threatened ones. Next slide. These are a few of the birds we could spot during our primary survey. Next slide. To conclude, family, RDA was dominant in all the 3 lakes since all the 3 selected lakes were water bodies. Having wading birds are common, hence RDA was the highest. Next is the diet. Insectivore is highest in Hoscarelli and Lal Bagh as there is a lot of green cover around, whereas in Yedur it has a lot of artificial fruiting plants and buildings around, so it has both insectivore and omnivore to be equal in number. Granivore was found to be the least in all the 3 lakes, as nowadays we are losing our precious grasslands as the places are being urbanized. Next is the IUCN status. We found least concerned species of birds in all the 3 lakes, and the Indian spotted eagle, which was one and only vulnerable species, was found in Lal Bagh because there is a lot of green cover. Migratory status. All the 3 lakes had migratory birds. Lal Bagh had the highest. It was about 33 species, that is 26.2%. The more number of migratory birds signifies the diverse habitat. So it is very important to have migratory birds. From this, we can understand that the lake with the highest vegetative cover hosts wide range of bird species, and ones like Yedur with urbanized setup hosts less number of bird species. Next slide. We would sincerely like to thank our college committee for allowing us to participate in this program. We would also like to thank Lake Conference Team 2020 for giving us opportunity and teaching us through pre-lake conference sessions and encouraging us and allowing us to present our works. We would especially like to thank Vijayanna for giving us full support and guidance throughout the project. We would also like to thank Guru Prasad and Srinivasa Sudhindra for helping us spot project Hoscarelli Lake. Next slide. The following is the annexure of primary and secondary survey. This is the next slide. Next slide. Ma'am, can you go through the slides until the reference? Next slide. So these are the references we used. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. I would like to conclude this with a beautiful quote. Become like a bird, expand your wings, learn new things and fly as high as you can. Thank you for all your attention and patience.
Thank you, Rashmi, Maitri, and Sahana for this presentation. Let's see if the judge.
Hello, Rashmi. Oh, okay. Carry on, carry
on. Sahana?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you give examples of birds under Artidae family?
Herons, egrets. Herons and egrets.
Which is the most common granivore bird you found in your study?
We didn't look about it.
Hello?
We didn't look about that. So I don't know.
Can you? Okay.
The main one was pigeon.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Rashmi, it was a nice presentation. I just want to know what is the takeaway message that you deliver or to tell to us from your study, or what you have understood.
We just wanted to compare how the bird diversity differs from different surroundings, how different surroundings can affect the bird diversity.
Okay, that's what you have learned after doing this bird diversity study, is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what do you suggest? What measures do you suggest for conservation of birds?
We need to plant more and more plants and trees so that it attracts more birds.
Your work is on lakes, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. What rejuvenation strategy you would recommend for enhancing the population of birds in the lakes?
The lakes need to be clean lakes.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any questions? No, this one.
We can hear you.
You can hear. Okay. Okay, if there are no questions, we have come to the concluding part of our session today. Today, the 11th standard kids have done the presentation. So those who have done extremely well, we will consider them for the Sahyadri Young Ecologist Award. That will be decided by the evaluation committee. They will scrutinize the presentation, and also all the judges, their comments also they will scrutinize, and they'll take a decision. And one or two of you might be invited for the presentation on the one of the days. So I invite you all to the Lake Symposium which is going to start on 28th to 30th. You are most welcome to attend the symposium virtually. I advise you all to attend all the session. Take advantage of the kind of knowledge that is there globally as well as within the country. So you may be benefited from that. At the young age, learning the new concepts and might mold you into a successful professional over a period of time. And also you will become a sensible citizen for the country. The country what requires today is the sensible citizens. When we have sensible citizens, normally the conservation also naturally the conservation will happen. So with this, we'll conclude the session. We wish you all the success in your career. We hope that some of you will come to the Lake Symposium in person and do the presentation. Once the evaluation committee selects the candidate, we will let you know. And we'll also announce the winners of Sayadri Young Ecologist on one of those 3 days. We do not
Excuse
know
me,
which
sir.
day, which session we will be, but certainly we will announce it during the event. Yes, there is some question. Yeah. Someone wanted the question. Can you just? Hello. What is the question? Okay. So I think that, can you unmute and speak?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Someone wanted to ask a question. No, you can unmute and speak. Okay.
Sir, just had a doubt of how will we receive the link for the final symposium, sir? That's 28th to 30th.
See, we will send the link to your teachers, and if your email is with us, we will communicate to you in a day or 2. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So I'm sure your email is with us. So we will certainly communicate to each and every student who have participated in this pre-lake conference. You are most welcome to take part in the event. Okay.
Thank you very
Any
much,
other
sir.
questions? Any other question from anyone else? Well, if there are no questions, then we all wish you the success in your career, and we hope to see you all virtually during 28th to 30th. Okay. And we will wind up the session and see you all during the Lake Symposium. All the best. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. If any teachers want to say anything, you can. Yeah.
Good evening, sir. I'm Snehalatta.
Oh, madam, yes, please tell me.
Sir, we are very happy to have this session with you people around, and it's really a kind of an encouragement for students, and they have been trying their best to do with all the effort and the encouragement given from your side and by the teachers of different schools. I feel they have done really a very good job. So it's really nice to have a platform for them and helping them to come out with their ideas. So they are the young budding scientists. Hope they will pursue with this idea in future too. So that is what we want our students to take up. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
With the teachers like you. Yeah. I think
So
certainly with the
thanks
teachers like you. Yeah.
So I feel it's a great opportunity for the students as well as for the teachers. So in spite of this pandemic, I think the children have, all the children, right from 8, 9, 10th and the college level, they have really done a very tremendous job and they have done their best, I feel. Thanks a lot, sir.
Yeah. In fact, we are also keeping track. In fact, last 4 days, we have done the evaluation of various categories. Now we have one more session to go for the UG and PG student. We are planning to do it on the day after tomorrow. Okay. On the Christmas day, because some of the UG students, they had examination on the other days, the working days. So we are planning to do it. And once we finalize it, I think we'll move to the final session, that is 28th to 30th. Okay. And I would advise everyone to take part, even as you rightly said, the capacity building happens both for the teachers as well as the student. This time there are many international experts. They're also taking part in the deliberation. And I am sure many youngsters will get a benefit of that international in case they are planning to go for a higher studies abroad, or to understand the relevance of the topic, so that what they can do it within the country also they can do that. So that way it gives an opportunity for them to enhance their knowledge. Okay. And the motto of the objective of this event is to disseminate the knowledge. I think we have succeeded to some extent. Because of the COVID, we had a slight problem, but I think we have done our job. We hope that during the 3 days event, everyone will get much more details about what is happening in the country as well as globally. Okay. Sure. Any other teachers want to say anything? Well, if there are no questions or no comments, then we will just close the session. We wish you a success in your career, and we look forward for your interactive session during 28th to 30th. All are welcome to visit IISc virtually, and 1 or 2 in your group might come to the campus. Okay. So, and of course, your teachers will be in the campus during this period. We have invited teachers, the 2 or 3 from each institutions. About 35 to 40 teachers are expected to be in the campus during that time. Okay, all the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We had immense pleasure hearing you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Good.